Then, what will we do about our lunch? Amy asked worriedly again. I can roast beef kebabs for all of us, Ferris said softly before embarrassedly adding, I haven't learned how to roast mutton kebabs yet. Then I will go catch a cow. Elizabeth walked out, transformed into a frost dragon, and disappeared on the horizon. She might not be able to catch a wild buffalo in the blue grassland, and she might need to go look for it at the places that were further in the south. However, Elizabeth returned only after a short while. She landed in front of the tent, and looked at everyone, who was slightly befuddled. They're back. They. Boss and a little maiden. Elizabeth nodded. Why is there a little maiden? Amy was a little perplexed. Father left alone this morning. Just as everyone was befuddled, Mag galloped over from afar on a tall and big unicorn, and there was a tiny figure on the back of the mount. Mag discovered a white unicorn after they entered the blue grassland. He landed Ozzy and captured the unicorn. He rode it back to the campsite with Annie. Stop! Mag patted the unicorn gently, and the unicorn immediately stopped in front of the tent. Mag got off the unicorn. Father! Amy tossed Ugly Duckling in her arms aside, and pounced towards Mag happily. Little Amy! Mag picked up Amy with a smile, and lifted her above his head. He looked at her adorable looks, and then hugged her tightly in his arms. If it weren't that he couldn't bear to leave Amy, he most probably couldn't have withstood the torture of his soul being torn apart during the lightning tribulation. When he saw her and hugged her in his arms again, he finally realized everything was worth it. Father, who is that pretty little big sister? Amy asked softly after a while. Everyone was also looking at Annie, who was still sitting on the unicorn's back. That was a beautiful little maiden. She seemed to be only 12 or 13 years old, but her holy and elegant presence made people ignore her age easily. She looked like a fairy that had just descended from the gods' realm. Her blonde hair was pulled back and plaited into an exquisite braid. Her light green eyes were looking at all of them curiously. She even smiled gently and expectantly as she looked at Amy, who was lifted up by Mag. She's Annie. I met her when I went out to look for ingredients in the morning, but she was still a golden egg then. I chased away a wild boar that wanted to eat her, and just as I was about to leave, she burst out from the egg. Mag looked at Annie with a smile, and said, perhaps I'm the very first person she saw when she hatched, but she thinks that I'm her father. It's too dangerous to leave her there alone, so I brought her back. I'm prepared to let her live with us, and Amy will have another big sister. Did she just hatch? Everyone looked at Annie with surprise. They couldn't connect her to a newborn baby, let alone imagine that she had hatched from a golden egg. Amy's eyes lit up, and she expectantly asked, then, is she going to call you father like me? Yes. Mag nodded smilingly. He looked at Annie, and lovingly said, however, she still cannot talk now. There's some problem with her vocal cords. She can't make any sounds. There was an additional hint of pity in the ladies' gaze when they heard that. What a beautiful little maiden, yet she couldn't make a sound. It's all right. She just needs to learn it slowly. Amy wasn't worried at all. She extended her little hand to Annie from Mag's arms, and smilingly said, Big Sister Annie, I am Amy. Let me help you get off the horse. Annie looked at Amy's little hand, and hesitated for a brief moment before reaching out to hold it gently. Then, she leaped off the back of the unicorn agilely. Amy got down from Mag's arms, but she was still holding Annie's hand. Looking at her fair and slender fingers, Amy praised, Your hand is so pretty. Annie lowered her head to look at Amy. Annie blinked as if she couldn't understand Amy, but her eyes were full of gentleness. Ugly Duckling, both of you came from an egg, but why are you so ugly? Amy said to Ugly Duckling disdainfully. Meow! Ugly Duckling cried out aggrievedly before it walked 2 rounds around Annie's legs. It twitched its nose, and then closed its eyes to rub its head against her calf. Ugly Duckling is actually proactively friendly to her? Mag was slightly surprised. Other than being submissive to Amy, it was disdainful to almost everyone. Mag didn't expect it to be so friendly to Annie. It was the same with Ozzy earlier too. Given its arrogant nature, other than Irina and Amy's bloodline advantage, it was only friendly to him usually. When did it ever put its head out and ask to be petted before? Seems like Annie has a natural talent that allows her to get close to magic beasts and animals. This is a good thing. Mag pondered. If she could make good use of this talent, she could easily gain some self-protection ability. Perhaps she could even become an outstanding beastmaster. On the Norland continent, beastmasters were a high-paying but scarce occupation. Annie, these are big sisters who work in the restaurant. They are also our close friends. Mag made the introduction for Annie. Yabimiya went forward with a smile, and said, "Nice to meet you, Annie. You can call me Big Sister Mia." Annie nodded slightly, and gave a gentle smile in reply. "How do you do, I'm Firis," Firis said, likewise smiling. Although Annie couldn't speak, and perhaps couldn't understand what they were saying, everyone still went forward to get to know Annie. "You all probably haven't eaten yet. I've found some ingredients, so I will make lunch for all of us." Mag removed a few wild rabbits that were still kicking from the unicorn's back. There was also one sheep that Amy caught yesterday, and they were just nice for lunch. Amy raised up her two little hands, and happily said, "Great. We were just agonizing over what to eat. Also, we can return to Chaos City after lunch," Mag continued. "Is Chaos City's crisis resolved?" Elizabeth asked Mag. Everyone was also looking at Mag concernedly. They had left Chaos City due to that, so they were very concerned about Chaos City's situation. Mag nodded, and smilingly said, "Yes. I have told a friend about our whereabouts, and asked him to send me news as soon as possible. I received his letter on my way back earlier. He said that the crisis was already over, and we could return now." Amy, Annie, and Anna were crouching next to the grill, and staring at the barbecued rabbits. They gulped together. "Roasted rabbit is super delicious." "Really?" Amy recommended it to Annie. Anna followed her example, and also recommended, "Roasted sheep is also very nice." Annie nodded, befuddled. No one knew if she actually understood them, but her gaze never left the grill. Mag plated all the mutton kebabs, and placed them on a long table. Then, he removed those few barbecued rabbits from the grill, and turning to all the ladies that were chatting leisurely at the side, he said, "All right, let's come and eat. Roasted rabbits should be eaten by hand, naturally." The three children, who had been guarding the rabbits the whole time, got a rabbit leg each, while others went to sit down on their own. After Mag took his seat, all of them started eating. Annie grabbed a rabbit leg and blinked. Then she turned to look at Amy, who was holding her rabbit leg, and munching happily. Amy swallowed the rabbit meat, and said to Annie, "You have to munch on it." Then, she demonstrated by taking a big bite before munching happily. "Ow!" Annie looked thoughtful. She copied Amy, and took a bite from the rabbit's leg. Her clear eyes lit up instantly. It had a very unique taste. She didn't know how to describe it, but her mood became happy because of it. She tried to chew. The rabbit meat that was tender on the inside and crispy on the outside melted in her mouth. This was the first time that she had tasted something, and it seemed like she had just discovered her mouth cavity. The joyous and pleasurable sensation made her smile inadvertently. After swallowing the rabbit meat, she couldn't resist taking a bite again. One mouthful quickly followed by another mouthful. She simply couldn't stop. "So, this is delicious?" Annie thought. Mag looked at Annie, who was eating happily, with a smile on his face too. Although Annie was considered a newborn, apart from her young psychological age, her body was already that of an 11 or 12 years old maiden. Therefore, she could already dine on tougher food like roasted rabbit. Furthermore, judging from how she learned to dress herself from watching the tablet, she had excellent learning ability. She most probably could use sign language to communicate with them soon after learning it for some time. After lunch, all of them began to keep the tents and pack up, preparing for their journey back to Chaos City. Mag called Amy, who was playing at the side. Just as he was about to call Annie, he saw her standing in front of that unicorn, and caressing its head gently. Then, she removed the rope around its neck, and waved to it. The unicorn used its head to bump against her hand before leaving reluctantly. "Let's go, big sister Annie. We should go home now." Amy skipped over and returned, holding Annie's hand. The golden dragon took off, and carried all of them on their southwards journey back home. The news of Chaos City's crisis being resolved soon spread all over the Norland continent with the departure of all the race's powerhouses. The residents who left Chaos City due to the crisis also began to return. "Mother, you have to help me. Nothing happened on our trip, so you have to make Father rescind his decision after we return. If we let Gloria inherit the family business, then our Moreton family's fortune will only eventually go to an outsider." Cyril, who had just received the news that they could return to Chaos City, brought his wife and 2 children to his mother's room. Aviva also cried, and complained, "Yes, Mother. Our lives are so tough. My husband has done his best and so much for the family. That lass only knew how to sweet-talk the head of the family, and she got to have the family's fortune. This is unforgivable." Herty and Herney swung Denise's arms on each side, and coyly said, "Grandmother, look at what we are wearing now. It's worse than the servant's attire." Gloria spent lavishly because she knew she was favored. "Sooner or later, she's going to bankrupt the family. You have to help us. This lass is really too much. Rest assured, with Grandma around, I will definitely help you." "It's not time for a junior like her to decide yet," Denise said angrily as she looked at her pampered son and 2 granddaughters with a look of heartache. "Arrange for the flying steeds that depart tomorrow to return in 3 batches. They will enter the city through different city gates after disembarking from the flying steeds," Gloria instructed an old servant. "Yes." The old servant nodded before then asking Gloria, "Young mistress, do you want to go to the fabric shop? Should we prepare a horse-drawn carriage for you in advance?" "Yes. I am ready to go out now. Get the horse-drawn carriage to wait for me in the front yard." Gloria nodded slightly. "Alrighty," the old man replied, and strode away. Gloria took a notebook before leaving the courtyard, and boarded the horse-drawn carriage that was prepared in advance. They rarely came to Rodu, so Gloria got herself busy in the past 2 days. She went to visit a few fabric shops herself to confirm the process of settling the fabrics that were hoarded and the state of the distribution of the new cotton yarn. Geoffrey had already announced his decision, and everyone knew that Gloria had replaced Cyril as the successor of the Moreton family. Her enthusiasm for the business that her family had already given up was also very surprising. Gloria didn't think so much. She was only sure about one thing: as long as Geoffrey didn't step down, she was just the successor. Cyril had been the successor for over 20 years, and he was out of the game with just Geoffrey's words alone. However, if the textile business could become profitable, it would truly be her business, just like blue suede. Moreover, she was very confident about that with Mr. Mag, who was a very outstanding business partner. I wonder if Mr. Mag saw that letter. Fortunately, Chaos City is fine. However, if he saw the letter and left, I wonder if he would know that the Chaos City's crisis has been resolved now. Sitting in the carriage, Gloria couldn't help worrying. She felt her cheeks warm up slightly when she remembered how she snuffed the letter under Mr. Mag's door. Rodu. The Royal Palace. An attendant strode into the royal study, knelt on the floor, and said, "Your Majesty, the second prince and Princess Vanessa have arrived in Rodu. The second prince has fainted due to the overwhelming journey and shock." The royal physicians and the Magus Tower's magic casters are treating him right now. Useless thing. He can even faint due to shock after returning to Rodu. Andrei banged the table, his face blushing due to anger. The attendant who was kneeling on the ground trembled in silence. Summon Sean and the courtiers in for a discussion, Andrei said gravely. Dicus strode into the city lord's office. Turning to Michael, who was standing in front of the window, he said, "My lord, Boss Mag refused your request to book the entire restaurant again." "It's the expected answer." Michael chuckled. However, many representatives hope to hold the celebration party at Mamie restaurant. Now, Dicus was a little worried. "This is our request. Boss Mag has the right to decline. There's no conflict." Michael shook his head smilingly. "Let's have the celebration party in the City Lord's Castle's banquet hall, and invite the head chef from the Dukas restaurant to cook." "Should we invite Mr. Alex?" Dicus continued to ask. "You just have to pass the invitation to Irina. Let them decide if they want to come." "All right." Dicus turned and left. "Isn't it a little too much to ask the most important guest of this celebration party to cook for us?" Michael shook his head. He guessed there would be a smaller celebration party at Mamie restaurant tonight, but it would be more delicious. There indeed was a celebration party at Mamie restaurant tonight. However, it wasn't a celebration party, but a welcome party for little Annie, who just came to the restaurant. Annie and Amy were playing in the playroom on the second floor, while the rest of the ladies went back to the dormitory to shower and change first. Therefore, only Mag was preparing for tonight's feast in the kitchen alone. He was still pondering how to discuss adopting Annie with Irina, but he didn't expect Irina to take out a letter with a weird smile after she returned to the restaurant, and ask him, "I found it at the door yesterday, and I've already read it." Mag only needed to sweep a quick glance at the words on the envelope to confirm that the letter was written by Gloria. His eyelids twitched twice rapidly, and he said with a stiff smile, "Miss Gloria and I are just ordinary business partners." "Just ordinary business partners, and you already can recognize her handwriting at a glance?" Irina's smile became brighter. "Or perhaps this isn't the first letter." Mag didn't know what to make of that response. Having a good memory didn't seem like a good thing, either. He wasn't sure what Gloria wrote in the letter, but Gloria was a cultured rich young mistress. Maybe she had urgent matters that she needed to look for him, and he wasn't in the restaurant, so there was this letter. "I have seen her words, and you know that I have a good memory." Mag's expression became very honest. Anyway, it was very pure between Gloria and him. "Yes. She's a very nice maiden. She didn't forget to remind you to leave Chaos City before she left." Irina placed that letter on the table gently. "However, this seems to show that I'm not nice." Mag looked rather embarrassed. After all, he had only thought of evacuating the restaurant staff when he received the news yesterday. Irina smiled and began to size Mag up and down before saying with a hint of doubt, "You not only regained your power, you've even advanced. I was like this when I woke up after being struck by the lightning. Now, I'm almost on par with the octopus monster in the seal now." Mag chuckled lightly. Irina's smile disappeared gradually as she watched Mag's smile. She raised her hand slowly and gently placed it on Mag's face, gazing at him in silence for a long time. Mag felt her ice-cold fingertips glide across his cheeks, but his heart felt warm. "Next time, I won't allow you to act tough." Mag nodded slightly. There was suddenly an additional hint of romance in the atmosphere. Mag seemed to see a hint of blush on Irina's beautiful face and cheeks. It was rare to see her shy side. Irina retracted her hand with an unnatural expression, and said, "Michael invites us to go to the celebration party. Let's skip that. I've already told them that we will have dinner in the restaurant tonight as a welcome party for Annie." Mag shook his head smilingly. "Annie?" Irina frowned. "I was just about to tell you this. I almost couldn't make it through the last tribulation lightning when I did the test with that octopus monster this morning. I didn't expect the lightning to strike a little girl out of the octopus monster, and she saved me. If the octopus monster is the incarnation of evil, then she's the incarnation of good. The octopus monster wanted to kill her, so I brought her out of the underground cavern. Mag looked at Irina, and sincerely said, her mentality is no different from a newborn child's, and her personality is kind. She has no kin and kith, and she has saved my life, so I want to adopt her and raise her. I called her Annie. Adopting Annie was Mag's decision, but he wished to obtain Irina's understanding and acceptance. Irina remained silent for a long time, just staring into Mag's eyes. Mag was creeped out by her stare. She really isn't a child that you have with some other woman behind my back out there. Irina's gaze was dangerous. You can verify that personally. She's playing with Amy upstairs now, Mag replied honestly. Irina immediately turned and walked to the staircase. She ascended the stairs to the second floor with light footsteps. Mag followed behind her. Irina stood at the playroom's entrance, and looked at the young maiden who was playing with Amy and Ugly Duckling with a hint of surprise in her eyes. The young maiden looked about 12 or 13 years old. She had an exquisite face and a tall and slender figure. What attracted people's attention more was that holy and pure presence. Irina had never seen such a pure person. It was as if Annie was the morning dew that glistened with the morning sun's rays on a new leaf at the very top of a tree in the early morning. There seemed to be no earthly presence in her. With just one look, she was sure that Mag wasn't lying. After all, he was still in the army at the Roth Empire's borders 11 to 12 years ago. Moreover, such a clean and pure person shouldn't belong to this world. Annie turned to look at the door when she heard the sounds, and she showed a polite smile. Mother! Amy tossed the toy away and pounced into Irina's arms. Then, she couldn't wait to introduce, this is Big Sister Annie. Father said she would live together with us in the future. Although she can't speak now, she really is a very gentle big sister. Even Ugly Duckling likes her. Irina also smiled when she heard Amy's words. She went forward to hug Annie with a smile, and softly said into her ear, "Thank you, Annie." Annie continued to look at her with a smile. "Seems like there's no problem." Mag shrugged. He turned and went downstairs to continue preparing dinner. Chapter 1804 Are you willing to become Mamie Restaurant's lady boss? However, judging from the rushed handwriting, Gloria should have written this letter and specially delivered it after she got the news to evacuate Chaos City at the very last minute. With the Moreton family's influence, he wasn't surprised that they could receive news that Chaos City was in crisis in advance. However, he was very touched that Gloria especially came to inform him to leave Chaos City under such urgent circumstances, and her words were so sincere. Miss Gloria is a trustworthy partner. Seems like we can continue to work together. Mag put the letter back into the envelope, and tossed it casually onto the counter. Then, he went to the kitchen. A head poked out of the staircase corner silently. Irina flicked a glance at the letter that was casually tossed onto the counter and nodded thoughtfully. Mag curled his lips. His sense of hearing had elevated after he advanced, so naturally he had discovered Irina, who had come downstairs. "I agree to adopt Annie." Irina walked to the kitchen's entrance while Mag was washing the vegetables, and said, "She's a beautiful and obedient child, and Amy likes her too. It's great that you like her." Mag turned and smiled at her. Time seemed to have frozen on her face. She still looked like a young maiden, but her demeanor had a charm that a young maiden couldn't compare to. Those blue eyes were as pure and deep as the ocean, making people sink in them. Mag gazed at her in a stupor. Irina faced that heated gaze, and felt her cheeks warm up. She felt a little shy and a little joyous, and she coyly said, "Why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face?" "You look quite good," Mag said with a smile. "Tisk, when did you learn how to say all this?" Irina narrowed her eyes and sized Mag up, but her upturned lips showed her mood. Do you know what I was thinking when the last lightning struck me today? Mag asked smilingly. You're going to die. Mag was speechless. She was actually so accurate. However, he quickly prepared himself mentally, and looked at Irina with a gentle gaze. I was thinking that if I died before I could love you properly again, then it'd be meaningless to be reborn again. Hey! Irina looked at Mag, slightly shocked. Hello Irina, I am Mag. Are you willing to become Mamie Restaurant's lady boss? Mag knelt on one knee, produced a ring with a blue sapphire like a magic trick, and offered it to Irina. Irina's mouth was slightly agape as she looked at Mag, who was kneeling on the floor. The man in front had removed his armor, and put down his heavy sword. He wore a clean chef's suit and offered a knight's highest form of etiquette as he said those words to her gently and determinedly. It wasn't to be the wife of a peerless general, or the lady companion of the dragon slayer, but to be the lady boss of a restaurant. However, it felt as if a bouquet of pink fresh flowers had smashed her heart. All the sufferings and aggrievements for the past 3 years and all the tears that fell silently in the night were all worth it at this moment. Yes. All she wanted was just to have a simple and happy life with him and Amy. There weren't any of those so-called duties to the country and rise and fall of a race, and they didn't need to interfere in all those endless plots and schemes. Becoming Mamie Restaurant's lady boss and restarting a simple and sweet romantic love with him was perhaps a happy affair. I do. Irina extended her left hand to Mag. Mag lifted that fair and slender hand gently, and put the ring on her ring finger before getting up, and hugging her in his arms tightly. This wasn't a spur of the moment, but an action that had been planned for a long time. He had long known that he had fallen in love with this woman. He was very sure that it wasn't just a fleeting love or lusting after her body. It was a true love, an emotion he had never felt for any other women. Due to their power disparity, he never could make that move. He wanted to be a man who could protect her, and not one that always needed her to protect him. Hence, he had planned for a long time to tell her about his feelings on the day he recovered to his full strength. He was Mag, the boss of Mamie Restaurant and the father of Amy. He wanted to love her with this identity and live together with her. Lady boss, Mag whispered in her ear. A faint flowery scent emanated from her body. Mag's smile had never been so satisfied and relaxed. Irina looked up, and smilingly asked, "Is the lady boss in charge of money?" Mag looked at the smiling face right in front of him. Her breath blew against his face gently. Her long eyelashes, blue eyes, and fiery lips made his heart race uncontrollably. He couldn't help but lower his head to kiss her. They finally parted longingly after a long time. Irina's cheeks were blushing, and her breathing was slightly rushed. She glared at Mag with a glazed and coy gaze. This fellow became so invasive. But I like it. Mag looked at her slightly swollen, tempting lips, and held himself back from kissing her again. Full of love, he said, "In the future, this family, including me, is all under your control." No way. That's too complicated. I'll be very tired. I just want to be in charge of the money. Irina shook her head, extended her hand to Mag, and smilingly said, "The money box's key. This is the money box's key, and this is the key to the safe in the bedroom's closet. All the big banknotes are in there." Mag took out 2 keys, and placed them on Irina's hand. A loved one helping him to keep track of the money was perhaps the most blissful thing. Meanwhile, some people not only didn't have money, they didn't have a wife, either. Good boy. Irina looked at the 2 keys in her hand, and went forward to give Mag a peck on his cheek. However, she soon realized her actions seemed a little too frivolous, or perhaps she should say she looked too much like a young maiden who had just fallen in love. She couldn't help but blush again. Mag touched his face with surprise, and then smilingly said to Irina, "Go sit down and rest. Leave the kitchen to me. It's all this fellow's fault. He actually pampers me like a child." Irina looked at Mag, but she felt very sweet inwardly. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Why don't I also change my identity and looks? Then, I can be the restaurant's lady boss above board and properly, and let Amy call me mother in front of others. And we won't have to worry about those fellows who harbor evil intentions targeting us. Won't you feel aggrieved? Mag looked at her with worry. Why would I feel aggrieved? I have thought about this long ago. If we are going to leave all these messy affairs behind, we need to go look for a place that is away from the rest of the world, and that would be very unfair to Amy. However, if we could live in Chaos City just by changing our appearances during the day, allowing Amy to stay with her friends, why not do it? Irina said with a matter-of-fact tone. All right. Then, let's get to know each other again from tomorrow onwards. Mag smiled at Irina. Apart from the restaurant's employees, Mag also invited Connie to come for the dinner. Due to Sally's sensitive identity, Mag didn't invite her. Bablat already sent a message that she would come to the restaurant's dinner, and not the City Lord's Castle's celebration party. Camilla would come over at night too. Mag didn't invite others. Tonight was Annie's welcome party to formally welcome Annie into Mamie Restaurant's big family. Not long later, Yabimiya and the rest arrived at the restaurant, and began to decorate the place and process the ingredients. What a cute little maiden! Is this Annie? I'm big sister Bablat. This is a little moon for you. It's really brought back from the moon. Bablat took out a crescent-shaped luminous jade stone, and stuffed it into Annie's hand. Annie held onto the little moon with glowing eyes. This little maiden is really quite adorable. Then, I will give you this bracelet. Camilla casually took off a delicate black jade bracelet, and put it onto Annie's wrist. Everyone brought gifts to Annie, and the gifts formed a little hill on the table. Annie looked at those nicely wrapped presents with a slightly gaping mouth. Although she couldn't express herself with words, they could see her joy from her smile. Connie placed the gift on the table, and happily said, "This is great. Fortunately, I declined the invitation from the City Lord's Castle, or I would have missed this important moment." "Big sister Connie, you're the last to arrive. Did you get lost again?" Amy asked Connie. Connie blushed, shaking her head, and said, "No, I simply spent some extra time preparing the gift for Annie, ding. The host has completed the mission to reseal the octopus monster. You will receive a set of recipes for octopus dishes, including stir-fry octopus tentacles, octopus balls, octopus sashimi, and marinated octopus." Ding! The octopus tentacle processing plant was already built, and is in the process of debugging. Could the host please set up the sales channels within 7 days and promote the ways of eating octopus tentacles? The system's voice suddenly appeared in Mag's head when he was busy cooking in the kitchen. Mag looked at the golden experience bag that had appeared in his mind with a cocked eyebrow. It was fine with the octopus tentacle, octopus balls, and marinated octopus. What the heck was that octopus sashimi? That was the cross-section of a great old one. Even Mag, who had a very accommodating palate, felt discomfort in his stomach. After all, his previous mission's punishment was eating octopus sashimi, and now he had to promote this dish. That made his conscience rather uneasy. He couldn't even eat those tiny octopus sashimis, let alone eat the octopus monster that he had hacked before personally. At the same time, he was surprised with the system's high efficiency. He had just resealed the octopus monster this morning, and the system had already built the processing plant, and entered the debugging phase. It was very hard to imagine the kind of environment the octopus monster, which was trapped in the seal, was in now. And what was the method of operation of the system's so-called 100 tons of octopus tentacles per day? The scene is too bloody. The host is advised not to think too much about that, the system reminded him gently. System, you won't be supplying giant octopus tentacles, right? Let's not talk about whether normal people could accept a giant octopus tentacle that is full of eyeballs. Wouldn't the cat be out of the bag when we take this out? Anyone can guess that it is the octopus monster's tentacle. This system will immediately process the tentacles again after obtaining the tentacles to make their appearance no different from that of ordinary octopus tentacles. There will be 3 sizes, small, large, and extra large, and they will be frozen, the system replied confidently. What about medium size? Sorry, there's no medium size. You indeed have something. Mag nodded. He relaxed after hearing the system's words. He naturally didn't have to worry about quality, since it was produced by the system. Moreover, the regular size octopus tentacles could be made into dishes easier. Seems like I'll have to work overtime tonight to learn all the octopus tentacles dishes, Mag thought. It wasn't enough for him to learn them alone, promoting them to the people was the important matter. If he couldn't create a craze of eating octopus tentacles, it would be impossible to achieve mass distribution. I've got to entice all the people on the Norland continent into embarking on the great career of eating the great old ones. Perhaps we could achieve herd immunity, and would no longer be mind-controlled by it. Mag thought casually. Add the test of immunity to mind control after eating it. Mag didn't notice the row of minuscule words that quickly flashed across his mind. The dinner was very sumptuous with spicy grilled fish, beggar's chicken, Peking duck, Buddha jumps over the wall. Mag had served almost all dishes in the menu, and they filled up the 6 tables that were placed together. Mag stood up, looking at Annie, and said, "Tonight's Annie's welcome party. From today onwards, I'll adopt Annie as my daughter, and she's now a member of Mamie Restaurant." Everyone got up and clapped, showing their welcome for Annie. Annie's face was blushing, and she bowed to everyone with a bright smile, but her gaze was all over the place due to the scrumptious food on the table. "All right everyone, let's start eating now," Mag said with a smile, and then sat down again. Then, everyone started eating. Amy sat next to Annie. She recommended the dishes, and introduced the ways to eat food to Annie personally, as if she was Annie's big sister. Annie learned how to eat the dishes from Amy obediently, and her expression became engrossed and blissful because of the delicious food. The sumptuous dinner concluded with everyone satisfied. "Everyone! I need to announce one thing." Babla stood up, looked at everyone, and reluctantly said, "I will have to leave the restaurant for some time tomorrow. I promised my father that I would return to the Moon Nation with him, but I will be back soon." "It's fine. You haven't been home for so long, of course you should go back to have a look. We will wait for you to come back," Mia said with a smile. Everyone nodded smilingly. They already knew that Babla's father had already set the teleportation portals for the 2 worlds, so they weren't surprised that Babla could go in between the 2 worlds. "Babla, can I go to the moon to look for you if you have the time?" "My childhood dream was to go to the moon," Connie said to Babla expectantly. "Of course, I can bring you along for this trip if you want to go." Babla nodded smilingly. Connie shook her head, and disappointedly said, "Not this time. I still have to go back to stabilize the situation." Irina stood up, and calmly said, "I need to announce one thing too. From tomorrow onwards, I won't be coming to the restaurant for my meals anymore, and I won't be sleeping here, either." Although she had heard that Master Alex had returned to the princess's side, she had never heard her say anything about leaving before. Everyone else in the restaurant also looked at Irina in shock. Although she was not working in the restaurant, she had been having almost all 3 meals with everyone for the past while, and was even sleeping at the restaurant. Everyone was already so familiar with each other, and upon hearing that she would not be coming over in the future, they could not help but feel reluctant for her to leave. Could it be because Master Alex had defeated the devil, so big sister Irina has decided to roam the world with him once more? Connie looked at Irina expectantly. She knew the dangerous situation today the best, as she had heard from her master how Alex bravely attracted the thunder strike to strike the devil, therefore successfully sealing it back again. On top of that, he probably had transcended to the legendary god tier to become the strongest man in the Norland continent. Back then, when Alex and Irina were still roaming the continent, Connie was just a little girl who liked playing with rag dolls. Right now, she felt as though she had taken part in history, and was even able to witness Alex and Irina, the legendary couple, roam the Norland continent. Upon hearing that, the lady's eyes lit up. Stories of heroes, beauties, and perfect couples had always been in every lady's imagination. Mag smiled. She's not going to roam the world. She's just coming over to become your lady boss. Perhaps we'll meet again if there's fate. Irina smiled. A faint golden glow appeared beneath her feet, and she disappeared from the restaurant. Is big sister Irina really not coming back? Irina had left before Amy could even react. Perhaps. Mag smiled and caressed Amy's head. Finally. I won't have to be so stressed in the future. Camilla heaved a secret sigh of relief. Although she had no conflicts with Irina, the latter's strong presence made her feel a little uncomfortable. Everyone bade their farewell and left. While Gina went back home to visit her family, Mag shifted her glass tank to the employees' dormitories so that she could live with everyone else in the future. The second floor of the restaurant went back to their family's personal space. Annie had been added to the family, while Amy was growing up slowly. It was time they had their own rooms. As for the master of the house, the master bedroom would of course belong to Irina. As for when he could step into the master bedroom openly and sleep on that huge bed, Mag was not actually certain. After closing the restaurant's door, Mag brought the two young fellows upstairs. Father, did Mother really leave? Is she not going to sleep with us anymore at night? Amy still had not gotten over Irina's sudden departure. Just when the three of them had reached the end of the staircase, Irina walked out of the bathroom with a bathrobe on, pointed to the room which Gina was staying in with a smile, and said, Annie, your father has done up a new room for you and Annie. In the future, you two little fellows will be sleeping together. So Mother didn't leave. Also, are we getting a new room? Amy's eyes lit up. She pulled Annie's little hand, and said, Let's go, big sister Annie. Let's take a look at our new room. Immediately, only Mag and Irina were left in the corridor. Mag looked at Irina, who just stepped out of the shower. Her long and fair legs peeked out from the bathrobe, and her full bosom was half hidden behind the loose-fitting bathrobe. There was a slight blush on her fair face, making her look extremely charming, just like a lotus out of water. He swallowed his saliva very naturally, and presented his current thoughts out honestly. Irina flicked her long golden hair, and a faint jasmine scent wafted over. She tilted her head a little, and looked at him with a smile. Annie and Amy are sleeping in a separate room now. Where are you sleeping tonight? The master bedroom, of course. Mag's soul was raging at the moment. If he could reject her even at this point, he was definitely not a man. Ever since he arrived in this world, why did he reject the advances of so many charmers and vixens, and guard his purity? It was all for this woman standing right before him. That thought even made him touched by his own faithfulness. I really am a good man. However, from tonight on, I am a real man. Ding! Please take note of the effective date for the recipes, and take the big picture into consideration, the system persuaded. Mag glanced at the recipe in his mind. There was actually a 5-hour countdown. F***ck, Mag could feel his passion extinguish by a sudden pail of cold water. Irina looked at Mag, who blanked out, and could not help but feel angry and embarrassed. At the same time, she found it rather interesting. Mother! Come quick! Our room is awesome! Amy peeked her little head out of the room and called out to Irina. I think you should sleep in the study tonight. Irina glared at Mag, tied her bathrobe up properly, and sauntered towards Amy's room. However, she did not hide the smile on her face. Mag was helpless. However, that was not a bad ending. In any case, he could finish learning all the recipes tonight, and he would have more than enough time in the future. As a god, even though he was a pseudo-god, he still had to be mature. After readjusting himself, Mag smiled and walked into Annie and Amy's room. The room was around 50 square meters. It expanded a little into the area of the second floor of the designated hot pot area on top of the space of Gina's aquarium. There were 2 cute princess beds in the room and a soft carpet on the floor. There were also 2 transparent swings in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window facing Aiden Square. The 2 large wardrobes were filled with clothes of various kinds, and just like the bed, they each had their own wardrobe with their different styles. The room also had a bathroom and toilet attached to it, custom-made to fit the 2 children's size. There was also a small bed prepared for Ugly Duckling beside Amy's bed. There were cute little decorations everywhere in the room and a teddy bear the size of an adult in the corner for them to sit on its lap to play. "Do you like it?" Mag asked with a smile. He custom-made this room, and bought every single decoration from the Systems Mall. This room was the one he put the most effort into in the entire house. "I love it. Father, I love you." Amy pounced into Mag's embrace, and gave him a smooch. Annie stood beside her bed, and smiled brightly at Mag too. Chapter 1807 Is this the feeling of love? As a restaurant owner with ethics, he had to operate tomorrow since he had already ditched his customers for 2 days. Otherwise, he would be letting his money box down. Of course, there was still another important reason he had to quickly make the Octopus series popular so that he could work on the subsequent things. As Mag thought, a white light flashed, and Mag had already stepped into the test field for the god of cookery. However, it was not the familiar kitchen that appeared, but the octopus monster, with those familiar tentacles, familiar eyeballs, and familiar growl. And Mag only had fathead fish in his hands. **CK, before Mag could say anything else, the octopus monster had already pounced over with its waving tentacles. Whom is he guarding against? Irina turned the doorknob, but it would not budge. She looked at the tightly shut door, and stomped her feet with frustration before turning to go back to the master bedroom. Mag had successfully gained immunity to all tentacles and anything trypophobic in this night. He even felt that the thunder strike had increased his mental capacity. Therefore, he had some new understandings of the so-called god of cookery. System, **CKU. Mag opened his eyes as he cursed. "Host, I am grinding your willpower," the system said with grievance. Still, **CKU. The system typed out 3 question marks slowly. Mag stuck out his middle finger and rolled up. Although he was exhausted from battling the octopus monster in the test field for the god of cookery, the moment he opened his eyes, he felt refreshed, as though he had a great sleep. He glanced at the alarm clock on the study table. It was just nice, 6 a.m. Just in time for breakfast. Mag changed into his chef's suit, and after washing up, he went downstairs and started to cook a large pot of porridge. He would be providing breakfast for the cleaners once again from today onwards. After that, he prepared Irina's breakfast. She would not be having breakfast with everyone else from today onwards, so Mag would have to prepare breakfast with love for her so that she could eat first. As for how lunch and dinner would be settled, he was still uncertain how Irina would want it planned. The steak was cooking in the pan, and the broccoli was boiling in the pot of water. This was requested by Irina last night. "Seems like you slept well last night." Irina walked down the stairs, and leaned against the doorframe as she watched Mag busying around in the kitchen. There was a hint of grudge in her smile. It was all right." Mag nodded without realizing the abnormality in her expression. Irina snorted. Mag turned back with bewilderment, and looked at Irina, who appeared to have resentment. "Didn't sleep well last night?" "No, I slept super well." Irina looked at him, and appeared to be as poised as she always was. She would never tell him that she was unable to sleep last night. That would be too embarrassing. "Give me a while. The steak will be done immediately. Do you want a cup of warm milk?" Mag asked with a smile. all right. Irina nodded. She did not leave. Instead, she stood by the door, and continued watching Mag fry the steak and warm the milk. It might be very difficult for an outsider to imagine that this man who attracted a thunder strike to strike the devil actually got up early in the morning to make breakfast for her. His gentleness made her feel all warm and fuzzy inside. The milk and steak were brought out in no time at all. The steak, which was wafting with fragrance, was already cut into bite-sized pieces. However, it was still pieced nicely on the plate as a whole. A few stalks of broccoli and cherry tomato halves decorated the plate, and the milk was steaming, but had the perfect temperature to drink. Enjoy your meal. Mag smiled as he pulled open her chair. Thank you. Irina tiptoed and planted a kiss on his lips. After that, she took a seat on the chair as her cheeks blushed quickly. However, she still picked up her silverware to eat elegantly. Mag licked his lips. He watched Irina eat her breakfast with her head lowered as he reminisced the electrifying kiss just now. He smiled. What a wonderful feeling! Was this the feeling of love? It made one dance with joy even though it was just a light peck. I need to leave. When Irina was done with the steak and milk, she stood up and stuck out her pink tongue to lick away the milk at the corner of her mouth. Should I leave some food for you for lunch? Mag, who was busying himself in the kitchen, walked out. It's all right. I'll settle it myself. Irina smiled mysteriously. Mag did not understand, and did not probe. He simply pulled out a tissue, and helped her wipe off the remaining milk stains. Shouldn't you lick it off for me at a point like this? Irina asked with a smile as she looked at the face close to hers. Mag's hand, which was holding on to the tissue, paused in midair. He looked at the corner of her lips, which were already clean, and suddenly felt that he really had become a gentleman. Just teasing you. Irina smiled. She turned to walk towards the door, and as a golden light shone under her feet, she disappeared from the restaurant. It's pretty fun, Mag laughed. He did not expect that there would be a day when he would actually be led by a woman. That was actually pretty fun. It was a very different experience. Not long after Irina left, Ferris arrived at the restaurant. Boss, did the princess really not come back to the restaurant to sleep last night? Ferris looked at Mag nervously. Yes. Mag nodded. He felt a little sorry, but since Irina did not come clean with Ferris, he would not let the cat out of the bag. All right. It looks like she really left with Alex. Ferris was a little down. The princess left just like that, without even saying anything to her. She did not even know where to look for her. How would she serve her in the future? Perhaps she's still in Chaos City. After all of you are still here, Mag said with a smile. The Night Elves matter just started. Irina would never leave them behind. After all, the Wind Forest was still watching them. That's true. Ferris's eyes lit up. In that case, I'll go back to check if she's back once I end work. Camilla and the others started arriving successively as well. Connie had also arrived. She came to bid everyone farewell. After all, she was the chief of the Fok tribe. Even if she was not really doing anything, she still had to go back to be around. However, Oster's arm was severed by the octopus monster, and his strength had decreased significantly. After returning, he would probably stay quiet for a while, and that would reduce many problems for Connie. There's no need to be upset, friends, the peace talks will be in another 7 days. I will be back again. Connie waved her hand, took the Rugiamo Mag prepared for her, and left. Chapter 1808 Feels like we're earning. Mag was suddenly grateful to the city lord's castle for not announcing the characteristics of the devil to the people. Otherwise, no one would ever try his new product. Father, let's go back after breakfast. I've already told the boss yesterday. Babla brought the Moon Nation King and entourage to the restaurant. She knocked on the door, and glanced at the little blackboard hanging on the door. The moment Babla and the people from the Moon Nation saw the 2 new dishes, their eyes flicked open, and they were dumbfounded. I suddenly don't really have any appetite. Why don't we skip breakfast? Babla stroked herself to soothe her churning stomach. The moment she saw the tentacles, she could not help but recall the countless terrifying tentacles of the octopus monster in the dark cave. Good idea. Let's go back to the palace for breakfast. The king nodded with a smile. This restaurant owner was rather interesting to launch these 2 new products at this time. The other powerhouses from the Moon Nation did not have any opinion. Although they were really looking forward to the restaurant owner's culinary skills, the impact from the octopus monster was really quite big. Many of them even had nightmares last night. Babla rang the doorbell. Mia opened the door and let them in. There's still 20 minutes until opening. What do you want to eat? Mag looked at Babla with a smile. Boss, we've decided not to eat breakfast in the restaurant. We'll be going back earlier. Babla had regained some color on her face. However, she felt as though she was unable to eat for a period of time. Mag looked at Babla, who appeared rather unnatural. He could guess that she felt revolted by the 2 new dishes on the board, and could not help but find it funny. Mr. Mag, thank you for taking care of my daughter all this while. This is a little token for you. I hope that you can accept it. King Kenneth went up, took out a large case the size of half an adult from his scepter, and put it in front of Mag. Mag glanced at the case that could fit a woman. The edges were encrusted with gold, and there were gemstones of various sizes embedded. No matter if it was gold or other more valuable things inside, it was certain that it was a huge sum of money. Your Majesty, there's no need to be so kind. Princess Babla is a very outstanding talent. Even if she wasn't staying in the restaurant, I am sure she would be able to lead a good life in the Norland continent, Mag said with a bright smile. It was the first time Babla heard such praises from Mag, and she could not help but raise her chin higher proudly. But of course, I am the princess of the Moon Nation. Kenneth smiled dotingly. Everyone, if you're in a rush to go back to the Moon Nation, why don't you bring some food to have on your way? Breakfast is basically prepared. Mag would naturally not let them leave empty-handed after accepting such a large case of treasures. Otherwise, it would seem that people from the Norland continent were very petty. Upon hearing that, Babla, who did not have any appetite, could not help but open her eyes wide, and asked Mag, Boss, can we take away the tofu pudding as well? I want to bring back one for my mother. According to the rules, tofu pudding could not be taken out. Mag frowned, and thought for a while before asking, how much time do you need to teleport back? And how much time would you need to send the tofu pudding to your mother? Babla thought for a while, and said, teleportation only takes a split second. It takes around 2 minutes to reach my mother's palace from the underground palace. The texture will not be affected if it's delivered within 3 minutes. All right. I will make an exception, and let you take away the tofu pudding. Mag nodded. It was not that he was usually not understanding. Firstly, it was because there was not a lot of tofu pudding to go around, and it was already insufficient for those eating at the restaurant, much less for takeaway. Secondly, the tofu pudding could not withstand bumpy rides, as it would break apart easily. Besides, once it turned cold, the texture and taste would drop significantly, and it would be very different from eating on the spot. That's great. I want a set of sweet tofu pudding. Babla said happily. She did not expect that Mag, who always talked about the rules, could actually agree to this request. The moment she felt happy, Babla also felt a little hungry. She thought of the fact that she would not be able to eat the food from Mamie restaurant after returning to the Moon Nation, and said, I want another set of tofu pudding and 2 yaut iaos. After that, King Kenneth and the Moon Nation entourage ordered their breakfast with the help of Babla. Mag packed everything up with a takeaway box one by one, and the group brought their breakfast along as they stood at the teleportation portal in the center of the restaurant. "Goodbye, everyone. I will be back soon." Babla waved to the others. "Big sister Babla, remember to bring a bunny back." "Father said that bunnies are delicious," Amy shouted. "All right," Babla's voice dragged, and disappeared with a flash of white light. Everyone waved to the air, and then started preparing for morning operations. Mag carried the heavy case in his arms, and walked upstairs slowly. The case was very heavy, around 200 to 300 kilograms. The weight would naturally be nothing to Mag. However, he had to act as though he had difficulties carrying it to maintain his persona. When he reached the study room on the second floor, Mag lifted the cover of the wooden case. He only cracked it open, and a dazzling light filled the entire room. Mag quickly closed it back. He turned to lock the door, and pulled the curtains before opening the wooden case again with a peace of mind. Squeak! An entire case of dazzling gemstones was presented to Mag. There were rubies, emeralds, sapphires, chrysoberyls, and diamonds. This employee was such a good investment. Mag picked up a dazzling sapphire, and tossed it up in his hand. Any gemstone could fetch more than 1 million copper coins, and there were up to 400 to 500 of such gemstones in this case. A king indeed. This is just a small token. Mag picked up 2 random gemstones, and closed the lid. He circled around the study, and finally shifted a bookshelf away, dug out a small hole in the wall behind, and hid the 2 gemstones inside. He shifted the bookshelf back to its original place, and looked around again. After making sure that he did not leave any traces behind, he opened the door, and left with a bright smile. "Wow, Boss Mag is actually launching 2 new products today. 2 new dishes after 2 rest days, feels like we're earning." "What's an octopus? What is an octopus tentacle? Can someone explain it?" "Octopus is seafood. It looks just like a flattened winter melon with many tails at the end. It's seafood that could be easily found by the sea. However, not many people eat it." The customers lining up at the restaurant door looked at the notice, and discussed it fervently. Mag to become the guardian of Lantis stable to maintain the customers' enthusiasm and expectation for his new products was a chef's greatest satisfaction. Amy stood behind Mags with Ugly Duckling in her arms, and perplexedly asked, "Father, why don't you make the new product for us in the morning?" Everyone began to look at Mag. Usually, Mag would make a sample for all of them before he released the new product, but Mag didn't this time. "This," Mag murmured. Mag, who finally got out of the test field for the god of cookery, couldn't make any food that was related to the octopus early in the morning. Of course, he had no doubts that the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls that he made would be astonishingly delicious. "Because those 2 dishes aren't suitable for breakfast, so I grouped them under the stir-fried items and snacks. I will make them for little Amy in the afternoon," Mag said smilingly. "Alrighty. I want to eat the little balls." Amy nodded. She saw the little balls on the menu earlier, and she hungered for them. "All right," Mag said indulgently with a smile. He believed the octopus balls would become the most popular snack after the ice cream. It was 7:30 am, and Mag opened the restaurant's door for business on time. The customers surged into the restaurant, and they greeted Mag like an old friend. The atmosphere was relaxed and happy. Perhaps this is what they call an interesting life. Mag raised his eyes slightly. He would lose this group of customers and friends who gathered here for the scrumptious food if he decided to stand here as Mag Alex. Harrison put down the menu, and asked Mag disappointedly, "Boss Mag, you're not releasing the new products in the morning?" Mag smilingly replied, "Yes. The new products don't belong to breakfast. They will be formally introduced at noon." "That's too bad. I have intended to eat the cute little balls to console my stomach that has been neglected for 2 days." Harrison sighed. The previously expectant customers also all turned to look at Mag with aggrievement. They were happy for nothing. Mag pretended not to see that. SAHDR walked in, and said to Mag respectfully, "Mr. Mag, we need 200 rugiamos, please. Has the Burning Legion expanded again?" Mag looked at SAHDR with surprise. Hee. Yes, another batch of my people came. SAHDR chuckled with a silly laugh. All right, please wait for a moment. Mag smiled, and then walked to the kitchen. Babla's absence made the restaurant short-handed. Fortunately, Jane and Angela were already familiar with the restaurant's jobs, and they quickly filled in the gap. The customers walked out of the restaurant satisfied after having a full meal, and started their new day happily. See you again. Yabimiya sent the last customers away with a smile. She heaved a long sigh of relief after closing the restaurant's door. Mag came out of the kitchen, removed his apron, and put it aside before smilingly saying, "Thank you all for working hard." Elizabeth cleaned the restaurant, and then all the ladies went to Yabimiya's ice cream shop together. Amy and Annie followed them too. Gina didn't leave with them. After everyone had left, she took out an exquisite box from a crystal ball, and placed it on the table gently. "Boss, my royal father wants me to pass this to you." Mag looked at the 50 cm long and 10 cm wide long jade box, and perplexedly asked Gina, "This is? Please open it." Gina took a step back with a blush on her face. "Is this a gift of appreciation again?" Mag's eyes glowed a little. He received 2 big gifts early in the morning, and they were both from the leaders of a race, so he couldn't help feeling expectant. Even though Lantist was sealed under the sea for thousands of years, its heritage had never been broken. Its civilization sank into the sea together with it, so they should have plenty of good stuff. With an expectant mood, Mag opened the jade box's cover. The expected dazzling scene didn't appear. An old black scepter lay in that exquisite white jade box quietly. The black scepter looked like it was carved out from black jade. A blue crystal ball was embedded at its top, and there were many mysterious and ancient runes carved on the smooth surface of the scepter. Although there wasn't any dazzling light, Mag could sense the ancient aura from this scepter. "This is..." Mag looked up at Gina. He couldn't understand why Lantist would give him this scepter that looked rather important. "This is the scepter of the deep sea, the symbol of the highest power in Lantist and Lantist's only holy object," Gina explained with a grave expression. "Why are you giving me such a valuable scepter? I am not a magic caster, either." Mag couldn't figure it out. Gina suddenly raised the scepter above her head, knelt in front of Mag on one knee, and respectfully said, "Lantist sincerely asks Mr. Mag to become the guardian of Lantist. You will wield the scepter, protect Lantist, and enjoy Lantist's offerings." This, Mag was stunned by Gina making him the guardian out of the blue. "Gina is willing to follow Sir for the rest of my life as your servant and be with you always," Gina said the rest of the words with a blush. Being made the guardian of a race and having a beauty throwing herself at him, his life seemed to have reached the pinnacle. However, Mag had just proposed successfully yesterday, and the wife had declared her return formally, so there was no way he could fool around. "Get up first, Gina." Mag quickly helped Gina up from the floor. He didn't hide his double identities from Lantist, so he could deduce that this decision was made after they saw him attract lightning to strike the octopus monster. Even he was rather impressed with the Lantistine king's determination, as the ruler could hand over the control of Lantist completely, and allow their princess to follow him. However, Irina finally got rid of the restrictions imposed on her as the princess of the Elves, so he naturally wouldn't want to undertake the job of guarding an entire race. Being a guardian wasn't a joking matter. Lantist had already formally stepped into this world, so it might one day have a conflict with one of the races. Then, as the owner of the scepter of the deep sea, Mag definitely couldn't watch at the side. If he agreed to it, it would be equal to adding in a lot of causes and effects for himself unnecessarily. Gina was blushing. She didn't dare to look at Mag directly, but she couldn't help stealing glances at him. There was a hint of shyness and anticipation in her gaze. She was so nervous that she didn't know where to place her hands. Gina, I cannot accept this scepter. Please go back to tell the king that I appreciate his good intentions, but my power is limited. I cannot undertake the heavy responsibility of being the guardian and take charge of Lantist. If ever Lantist is in trouble, I will definitely help if it's within my ability. Mag looked at Gina with a smile. As for you, you're the restaurant's employee and also my friend. If you don't mind, you can stay in the restaurant until you are sick of it. Chapter 1810 It exploded. No, you didn't do anything wrong. Lantist is not wrong, either. Mag placed his hand on Gina's head gently to calm her. He said to her smilingly, if Lantist doesn't compete with the other races, you all naturally don't have to worry about the other races going into the sea to fight with you. Hence, there's no need for you to hand the scepter over to an outsider like me, and be under my control. I will always be Lantist's friend. Of course, I won't stand aside if you ever need my help. Furthermore, I'm just a human, and not some god. I love to cook, I love the restaurant and a simple life like this. Power to me is just like a fleeting cloud. Gina looked at Mag with her mouth slightly agape. There seemed to be a holy glow that was emanating from his body, just like that of the Savior that appeared in the crystal ball that day. Simple, happy life. Gina felt enlightened and nodded hard. I will return to tell Royal Father and the High Priest exactly what you said. Go ahead. Mag retracted his hands, his gaze full of encouragement. Watching Gina leave, Mag heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Irina wasn't present, otherwise he would have to explain what "follow sir for the rest of my life" meant again. Hannah's rum brewery should be completed by now. Mag pushed the bicycle out as he prepared to go to the north of the city to check on the progress of Hannah's rum brewery. Many customers had been asking about the rum recently. Additionally, Mag was prepared to place the mass production of Mau Tai and whiskey on the agenda. Brewing beer on his balcony had already reached its limit. Brewing whiskey and Mau Tai would need a bigger place and a longer time. Building a brewery and producing them on mass scale was a good idea. Liquor was an industry that had very high profits. Beer, rum, whiskey, Mau Tai. Mag, who had the trump cards, was very confident that he could monopolize the high-end liquor market of the Norland continent. As for the wines, out of respect for Sheer, Mag decided not to overtake the name of Buffett Winery for the time being. Host, please don't get lost in earning money. Introducing this world to great dishes is what you should do as the candidate for the god of cookery, the system reminded him. Money? I have never touched money. I'm not interested in money. I only want the people who like liquors in this world to get to enjoy the real great liquors, and give those lousy liquors a sense of crisis and direction to improve themselves, Mag said honorably. After riding his bicycle out of the door, he greeted Mabai and Lulu who were sitting at the blacksmith shop's entrance for a break and then rode off, whistling. Boss Mag is indeed a carefree person. Mabai chuckled as he looked at Mag's back. He's a good man, Lulu said bashfully. Before he reached the brewery, Mag already saw the white smoke that was coming out of the tall chimney from afar. This lass really couldn't wait to start work. Mag cocked his eyebrows. It seemed like Hannah had already begun to test the machines. He could understand Hannah's can hardly wait mentality. After all, everything of this rum brewery, from the machine's blueprint to the factory's layout blueprint, was thought out by her through many sleepless nights. Then, she stayed at the construction site every day, working overtime to make sure that the craftsmen who were split into 2 shifts built it properly. It wasn't too much to describe it as the fruit of her labor. Boom! A sound of explosion came from the brewery as soon as Mag's bicycle was parked in front of the brewery. This is... Mag saw that the tall chimney swayed in the midst of the black smoke before crashing down unwillingly. A group of craftsmen who were refining the brewery's details ran out with a look of fear and panic. Mag rushed into the thick black smoke immediately, and pulled the befuddled Hannah out. Hannah, whose face was tainted black by the smoke and hair was frizzled like the golden mane of a lion, was stunned for a moment. She blinked before she noticed Mag. Then, she revealed a shocked expression. It exploded. Yes, I saw it. Mag pursed his lips, trying hard to stifle his laughter. It just exploded like that. Hannah replied innocently in a quivering voice. Yes, I saw it. Mag turned his head to the other side. He couldn't help but make hee sounds. He was professionally trained. But he couldn't hold it in. After laughing, Mag turned to look at the distraught Hannah, and patted her shoulder to console her. It's all right. We can start all over again as long as the people are still here. From drawing the blueprints. Hannah's eyes rolled, and she fainted into Mag's arms. This child. Mag held on to Hannah. He instructed the craftsmen to put out the fire that was caused by the explosion first. He asked them not to bother with clearing the aftermath before sending Hannah to the textile factory nearby. Irina wasn't around, but there were still many magic casters who knew healing magic, and there was a professional hospital. After all, there were 30,000 people making up the Night Elves. The explosion didn't hurt Hannah. She fainted due to exhaustion, on top of the desperation of having to redo the blueprint again. The elven healer placed a calming magic on her. Hannah's furrowed eyebrows relaxed, and her breathing became even gradually as she fell asleep. That elf also used a cleansing magic on her. She cleaned up the sooty Hannah, and changed her clothes. The elf walked out of the room, and said to Mag, "She will be fine after a sleep. Thank you. Let her rest here for a while. I'll come back to fetch her later." Mag took a look at Hannah, who was lying there quietly, before walking out of the infirmary. Mag returned to the brewery. Looking at the mess, he felt rather speechless. The boiler exploded, and the brewing machine was all over the place. The entire boiler room was in a mess. Mag took out an N95 mask, and put it on. He looked around the smoky factory building with narrowed eyes, and inwardly asked, "System, check what's the problem." "Host 1,000 copper coins." Mag stuffed the system's mouth. "But the host has no money now." Mag's expression froze, but he smiled, and said, "I have secret savings." Approximately 1 minute later, the system's voice appeared. "The scan is completed. On the three-dimensional plot drawn according to the design blueprint, 6 structural problems and 3 material problems were found. The design blueprint of the brewing machine has been redrawn. Should I print it out?" "Of course." Mag nodded. "It costs 2 copper coins to print a page. There are a total of 32 pages, and the charge is 64 copper coins. Deducted." The system's joyful voice sounded. Mag looked at the stack of blueprint in his hands, and dissed the system's greediness inwardly. However, he was still very satisfied with the unusually standardized drawings. I think he passed away rather peacefully. He didn't seem to have the conviction to pass on the rum, Hannah lamented. Mag didn't say anything. He just looked at her quietly. "I'm not thinking that serving dishes is easy. It's just that. It's just that. Uncle, I don't want to try anymore." Hannah was on the brink of bursting into tears. "I don't want to draw anymore. I don't want to draw anymore. There you are." Mag took out a stack of drawings, and waved them in front of Hannah. "What's this?" Hannah looked at those blueprints with narrowed eyes, feeling a sense of familiarity. "I went back while you were sleeping. The situation is rather horrific. There were indeed some problems with the machines, and I simply made the corrections for you," Mag replied calmly. "Really?" Hannah's eyes lit up, and she took the blueprints from Mag carefully. She flipped through the drawings with an increasingly impressed expression. Finally, she looked up at Mag with little stars in her eyes. "Boss, did you really draw this during the short time that I was asleep?" There were over 30 pages of drawings, and they were all redrawn, and not corrected based on her original drawings. Although the general structure was the same, almost all the measurements were redone. One had to know that she had spent over 2 weeks working late every night before she came out with that drawing. Moreover, she had spent a few days checking the dimensions while studying it, and forging it together with Mabai. However, boss only used half a day to redraw a new design plan, and even readjust the dimensions? Yup. Mag nodded. Actually, after the system generated the drawings, he even walked around the north of the city, and found 2 plots of land next to the rum brewery to build the beer brewery and the Mao Tai brewery. He only came to look for Hannah now because he was afraid he would affect the noon's operation. It won't blow up again, right? Hannah asked with lingering fear. Theoretically speaking, it should be fine. Mag nodded. Are you sure? Yes. Boss, you are the best. Hannah gave Mag a big hug, and the despair on her face was gone. She was re-energized. Mag used a finger to push Hannah's head away. Give yourself a break today. I already asked the workers to remove the destroyed machines at the brewery and repair the factory building. You can give the blueprint to Mabai first, and see if he's free to help you make it. Hannah won't go on a break if the continent doesn't explode. Hannah shook her head. I'm going to look for Boss Mabai now. Most probably, I will have to make a trip to the materials market. The materials on the blueprint don't look simple. Sure. Take a ride on my bicycle, I'll send you back. Mag didn't stop her. He brought her out of the door, and rode the cool bicycle back to the restaurant. Along the way, Hannah asked a question after finally realizing something was amiss. Boss, do you already know how to make this machine? No, I don't. Don't talk nonsense. Then, how do you draw such a perfect blueprint within such a short time? It took me very long. Hannah didn't believe him. Perhaps this is the so-called talent, Mag replied casually. Hannah clenched her fists and teeth. She felt like hitting someone. Mag stopped his bicycle in front of the blacksmith shop. Hannah leaped off before the bicycle stopped completely. She waved to Mag, and dashed into the blacksmith shop. Boss Mabai, did you throw a bomb into the boiler? I was almost killed by you. Mag raised his eyebrows slightly. He seemed to have neglected that possibility. However, there wasn't any smell of gunpowder, so Mabai couldn't have treated every cylinder as a cannon barrel. Ignoring the discussion sounds from the blacksmith shop, Mag pushed the bicycle into the restaurant, and started to prepare for the noon operation. The new items that would be released at noon: stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls. Mag opened the refrigerator, and the small and large octopus tentacles were already present. The small-sized octopus tentacles were almost as thick as a person's middle finger, and the large-sized ones were about as thick as a baby's arm. The extra-large size wasn't placed in the refrigerator. It was almost 50 centimeters across at its thickest part. This was meant for the big-sized customers like giant dragons during the distribution, so it wasn't needed in the restaurant. The octopus tentacles looked very fresh, as if they were freshly caught from the sea and chopped up. The skin on the surface and the little suckers looked exactly the same as those of an ordinary octopus. He couldn't make out any difference visually, and nobody would link it to the horrible one-man thick and covered with eyeballs octopus tentacles. Mag had to bow down to the system's methods just based on this alone. One could even describe the workmanship as ingenious. After staying for over 100 days in the test field for the god of cookery yesterday, Mag was already completely numb and immune to the octopus tentacles. However, this brought along one big problem: there was no urge to eat it. Yes, he had already faced his fear, but he couldn't get over his psychological barrier. If there was someone who knew the octopus monster the best, that would have to be him. They even went through a tribulation together. Therefore, he still couldn't remove the psychological barrier, and make himself eat it. Of course, since the system could use it as an ingredient and supply it on a large scale, there was no need to worry about if it was safe to eat. Speaking of it, this octopus monster had lived for millions of years, so it wasn't even appropriate to call it a super magic beast. Perhaps there might be some special effects after eating this octopus tentacle. Closing the refrigerator, there was an octopus ball machine with over 100 small holes on the stovetop. The octopus balls were a rather complicated snack, and had certain requirements for heat control and operation. These, too, had added some more burden onto him. Fortunately, his power had increased. The power beyond the 10th tier allowed him to handle the kitchen's busyness easily. If he wasn't afraid that he would frighten the customers eating out there, they most probably wouldn't even see his shadow. Shortly after, Amy and the ladies returned to the restaurant. "Father, are we eating octopus balls for lunch?" Amy skipped in, and looked at Mag expectantly. "All right, I'll make them for you all later." Mag nodded with a smile. "That's great." Amy hopped twice happily. The others also seemed rather expectant about the new product. I don't have much appetite. I'll take away a helping of fried rice later," Camilla said with an unnatural expression. She was the only person among the ladies to have seen that octopus monster. She even had a nightmare last night. Thinking about the octopus tentacle that was filled with eyeballs, she really couldn't see it appear on the dining table. Mag took a look at Camilla. He didn't expect her to be afraid of the tentacle monster too. Suddenly, he remembered that he still had a photo stone in her hands. If it ever ended up in Irina's hand, he would be in deep trouble. Hence, he immediately smilingly asked, "What's wrong with you? Does Zixi need to take a look at you? Eating together is our restaurant's tradition. You definitely have to try the stir-fried octopus tentacles, which is such a delicious dish." "Afraid?" Camilla sneered. "I am a countess, a 9th tier powerhouse. Why would I be afraid of a tiny octopus? Isn't it just an octopus? I'll eat it today." "Good for you." Mag gave her a thumbs up with admiration. He indeed admired people who could say things that they didn't believe just for their pride. "Humph!" Camilla snorted softly with an uncomfortable expression. She regretted it as soon as she said it. She was so frightened inwardly. However, she would have to wait for the stir-fried octopus tentacles to be served now, and she would have to eat it too. Mag and ladies were busy doing preparation in the kitchen. A long line had already formed at the entrance of the restaurant. After the latter closing for 2 days, another 2 dishes were going to be released today, so many customers hoped to try the new products today. Meanwhile, there were also some powerhouses from various races who hadn't returned home among the customers in the line. Although the celebration party held at the City Lord's Castle had a great variety, its taste couldn't compare to Mamie Restaurant at all. Hence, those who weren't in a rush to go home decided to come eat at Mamie Restaurant first before they left for home. Although lining up for Mamie Restaurant decided the sequence of entering the restaurant, the Chaos City residents were very grateful that all the powerhouses came to rescue Chaos City during the crisis in the past 2 days, thus letting the powerhouses go ahead. Hence, they all reached the front of the line. "The residents of Chaos City are indeed rather different," Louis lamented. Indeed. In other places, nobody would dare to come and have their meals if they saw us old farts standing here, and no one dares to let us line up for our meals, Douglas said coldly. "What's the matter with lining up? Even we, as Amy's masters, have to line up here every day." Krasu rolled his eyes. All the powerhouses looked over. If Krasu and Urian weren't standing at the front, they might not have stood here patiently. However, this boss had great culinary skills, so it wasn't disgraceful to line up for a meal here. After all, there were more than 10 10th tier powerhouses lining up here. Louis noticed the little blackboard hanging on the door. Astonished, he said, "Is this so-called new product an octopus tentacle?" All of them looked over, and their expressions instantly became weird. They had got their hearts broken by that octopus monster for the past 2 days. They felt a chill up their spines and their stomachs churning once they thought about the gigantic, hundreds of meters tall body and the tentacles that were full of blood-red eyes. However, this boss had to release new dishes that were with octopus tentacles today? What? Are you afraid? Krasud turned around, and looked at Louis and the rest with a hint of ridicule in his smile. It's just tentacles, what's there to be afraid of? Louis said nonchalantly, but his fingers couldn't help but twitch. The powerhouses who wanted to back away immediately halted their steps after hearing Krasud's words. They couldn't let people see that they were afraid. Then, do you want to order them to try? Krasud stared at Louis with a meaningful smile. Of course we have to try them since they're the new products. Louis nodded matter-of-factly, without even frowning. Hee. Then, let's sit together later. Krasud chuckled. We haven't drunk together for many years. Let's have a few glasses today. This old fart isn't a good man. Louis gave Krasud a side glance before saying to nearby Douglas and Urian, Douglas, Urian, join us for a few glasses too, as we four have fought in the past. Testing this octopus tentacle today will be considered as going through thick and thin together. I can drink, but I'll pass on the octopus tentacle. Douglas's eyelids twitched. I'm allergic to seafood. You, an old fart almost 2,000 years old, are allergic to seafood? Even if you are you going to have rashes? Louis rolled his eyes. I'm not eating. Urian's answer was short and succinct. He rejected coldly, without any intention to negotiate. Can that thing really be eaten? Just thinking about that gives me goosebumps. Dracula was also amongst them, and he rubbed the goosebumps on his arms with a disdainful look. I will never eat that even if they kill me. A few orc and dwarven powerhouses standing around him nodded in agreement. They had already decided to sit further away from Louis's table later. All the big shots standing in front inspired their awe and admiration, while two beauties in the line attracted the others' attention. One of them was Miss Gloria, who came to eat at the restaurant frequently. The news of her becoming the sole successor of the Moraton family had already spread throughout the Chaos City's business world. She had already become an existence that was on par with Miss Shear. She was only 18 years old, and her beauty after removing her veil even shocked the people. It was very enjoyable to appreciate a beauty like her. However, her limelight was shared with another maiden who was almost standing next to her in the other line. That maiden had long blonde hair that reached her waist, and her exquisite face was a match for Gloria's. Her beautiful golden eyes showed confidence, and even women couldn't help looking at her alluring figure. The maiden gave Gloria a side glance surreptitiously, and curled her lips with an indiscernible meaning. The preparation for the operation was done, and the employees were already at the table. All of them waited quietly for Mag to serve the last dish, stir-fried octopus tentacles. Camilla sat there uneasily, and looked at the kitchen frequently. She was hesitating between staying and leaving. In the kitchen, Mag tossed the wok proficiently. The octopus tentacles were dancing with the red and green chili over the flames, and the heat greeted his face. He turned off the fire, and plated the dish. Simply plating the brightly colored stir-fried octopus tentacles on a white porcelain dish was enticing enough. No additional decoration was needed. The octopus tentacles that were cut into 3 cm long pieces were mixed together with green chili, red chili, and purple onions. After being coated with a layer of enticing brown sauce, the green and red tentacles no longer looked terrible. As expected of me. I can even make a great old one so enticing. Mag walked out of the kitchen with the plate. The umami of the octopus tentacle had already begun to blossom. Compared to an ordinary octopus tentacle, the umami of this octopus tentacle was more obvious and irresistible. Mag placed the octopus tentacle in front of Camilla with a smile. All right, the dishes are all ready. Let's eat. Chapter 1813 Why did it become a damn TV serial? The fast stir-fry had retained the side ingredient green chili, red chili, and purple onions' vibrant colors, making the dish look even more attractive. Smells so good. The umami is even more intense than the big shrimpy. Amy took in a deep sniff. Yes. It smells like it would taste very great. Mia nodded too. This is octopus tentacle. Camilla looked at the plate of stir-fried octopus tentacles with doubt. This was different from the slimy giant octopus tentacle covered with blood-red eyeballs in her impression. The octopus tentacle was glazed with gleaming sauce after it was cut into small pieces. It had become the mouth-watering focus of the dish. What was even more overboard was the aroma of the umami that greeted them. The heat brought along the irresistible umami as if it was just caught from the sea. She couldn't help but gulp. No way. Even if it looks very delicious, it's still an octopus tentacle. Horrible and evil octopus tentacle. Camilla seriously lectured herself inwardly, but her throat couldn't help but move. Then I will start eating now. Amy picked up the chopsticks, reached out for a piece of octopus tentacle, and fed it into her mouth. The tender octopus tentacle made a crunchy sound in Amy's mouth, and her eyes lit up. Her cheeks were moving furiously, and happy chewing sounds were issued. A happy smile had already appeared on her face without her realizing it. Gulp. Everyone gulped. Judging from Amy's expression, it had to be another delicacy. I'll try it too. Mia also couldn't wait to feed a piece of octopus into her mouth, and her eyes instantly turned into crescents. The crunchy octopus tentacle had an incomparable umami taste, and it danced on the tip of the tongue with the sauce, almost suffocating her. This is simply too delicious. It's so fresh that I almost bit my tongue, Mia said with an amazed expression after she swallowed the octopus tentacle. The stir-fried octopus tentacles that obtained double recognition instantly became the focus that everyone was going to try. At that moment, moaning and praising could be heard non-stop. Everyone was blown over by the scrumptiousness of the stir-fried octopus tentacles. Why are you not eating? Mag looked at Camilla, who had a hesitant expression, with a smile. The octopus tentacles on the plate were almost half gone, but Camilla still hadn't started eating yet. I'm not afraid. Camilla glared at Mag, and immediately picked her chopsticks to get a piece of octopus tentacle. The octopus tentacle that was coated with sauce didn't look scary. Instead, the aroma that gently floated over together with the heat was extremely enticing. This is just an ordinary octopus monster. It's not the octopus monster, not the octopus monster, not the octopus monster. Camilla began to hypnotize herself before she closed her eyes, and popped the octopus tentacle into her mouth. Her teeth tore open the octopus tentacle, and the crunchy texture was even more exquisite than the crayfish's meat. Its unparalleled umami began to radiate in her mouth invasively like a conqueror. Right then, the tip of her tongue touched the little suckers on the octopus tentacle. Freeze! The hundreds of meters tall octopus monster suddenly popped out in Camilla's mind. Its slimy tentacles began to spiral towards her, and the bloody eyes were all staring at her. That slimy sensation was so real, and they were moving and sliding all over her body. Fear, hatred, and a hint of unexplained pleasure. Camilla felt that she couldn't move at all, and could only let that octopus monster do as it wished. Just as she was on the brink of breaking down, a ray of light appeared in front of her suddenly. The octopus tentacles that were twirled around her were sliced off, and the restraint and slimy sensation instantly disappeared. And behind that ray of light, she saw a strapping figure standing in between the sky and earth as if he was the one and only supreme ruler. Perhaps, it was him? Then, the figure whose back was facing her turned around gradually, and smiled at her. Camilla saw that face clearly, and it was actually Mag. And he was holding that fat head fish. *CK that. Camilla opened her mouth instantly and panted. Her eyes also happened to meet Mag, who was smiling at her. At that moment, she actually had a difficult-to-explain feeling. What was this? Shouldn't her hero be like Alex, who rode a purple-striped griffin, held the Tiandu sword, and came to rescue her with the lightning? No. Only a beauty like Miss Gloria would do. Why did it become Mag with the cleaver? However, Camilla's attention soon turned to the changes in her body. She suddenly realized she seemed to understand the cultivation issues that had been bothering her for years. She seemed to have seen the 10th tier world vaguely. Is this real? Camilla had a "that's unbelievable" expression. It had already been 10 odd years since she broke through to 9th tier. Although she was deemed to be the most talented vampire after Dracula, she had been stuck at the bottleneck before 10th tier, unable to break through. After confirming again that her bottleneck was budging, her throat couldn't help but move. The advancement from 9th tier to the 10th tier was the difference of the understanding of the way. At first, although those weird illusions seemed creepy, it also allowed her to see something that she couldn't see before, and her spiritual power seemed to be elevated. She seemed to gain some new understanding. Perhaps it's due to that octopus tentacle? Camilla looked at the octopus tentacle in front of her, and hesitated for a while before she picked up another piece of octopus tentacle, and fed it into her mouth again. There's actually no reaction? And she immediately ate the second piece? Mag looked at Camilla, feeling rather surprised. Although her first reaction was rather interesting, it didn't seem to turn her away. Perhaps it's really too delicious? Camilla already couldn't care about what Mag was thinking. The slimy octopus monster didn't appear when she ate the octopus tentacle again. It became Mag flying with her on his cleaver after he saved her. Even though it was less scary than the first illusion, it still gave her goosebumps. What the heck was this? Why did he keep appearing? Perhaps, he put drugs in the dish? Camilla opened her eyes again, and looked at Mag, who was putting food on Amy's and Annie's plate, aggrievedly. However, she could acutely sense her spiritual power getting stronger. She couldn't resist the temptation, and took another piece of octopus tentacle again. This time, the scene changed from the sky to a sea of flowers. Mag was running and laughing with her among the flowers. Camilla! Why did it become a damn TV serial? Camilla continued to eat the octopus tentacles. Although she couldn't face those weird illusions, she couldn't resist the opportunity to peep at the chance to advance. Ding! The chopsticks touched the plate, but there wasn't any octopus tentacle left. Camilla stared at the plate where only a few pieces of purple onions were left in a daze. It's all gone, big sister Camilla. Amy was munching on a chicken leg. Seems like you really like to eat octopus tentacles. Everyone also smiled when they heard that. Camilla was so engrossed in eating that octopus tentacle, and she showed so much love for it that everyone only took a few bites, and left the octopus tentacles to her. Camilla soon realized what happened, and she blushed. It's really very delicious. She even glared at Mag after she said that. Mag raised his eyebrows innocently. What was that? Why did she glare at him after she finished the delicious octopus tentacle that he made? Amy put down her chopsticks, and told Mag, "Father, I am done. When can we eat octopus balls?" Everyone looked towards Mag too. The stir-fried octopus tentacles brought an exquisite experience to all of them, so they had greater expectations for the other dish with the cute name. However, Mag said before that it was a snack, so he didn't serve it at lunch. Wait a moment, I'll go make it for you now. How many of you want it? Please raise your hands. Mag put down his empty bowl, and got up to walk to the kitchen. It was the perfect time to make the after-meal snack. I want a big helping. Amy raised her hand. She looked at Annie, and added, "Big sister Annie wants a small helping. I would like a small helping too." Mia put up her hand. "Ferris and I want a small helping too." Angela raised her hand. "All right. I got the numbers," Mag answered them from the kitchen. As he turned on the octopus ball machines to preheat it, he began to cut up the side ingredients. He had to put an extra effort into the octopus ball itself in order to make it more delicious. After preheating the machine, he poured a little olive oil into each hole, used a long ladle to scoop the octopus ball batter from the wooden bucket which he had mixed up earlier, and poured the batter into the hole gently. He soon filled 40 holes. Then, Mag used a ladle to scoop up a spoonful of minced cabbage from the side ingredients box, and scattered it into the holes evenly. The fresh red chili, peeled corns, and 2 cm long chopped octopus tentacles were placed into each hole one by one and covered by the batter. Then, another layer of batter was infused. The iron plate's temperature was already high enough, and the batter quickly took shape. Mag held a long iron pick in his right hand like a sword, and flipped the side that was already formed up. Because he was fast enough, every ball looked almost the same. In the blink of an eye, dozens of golden brown round balls appeared on the octopus balls machine. At this time, a little more olive oil was added, and the balls were left to sizzle. After the surface was crispy enough, he immediately put them onto plates. The small helping had 4 balls, while the big helping had 6. He drizzled the mayonnaise and ketchup over them before sprinkling the nori powder over them. Finally, he sprinkled a handful of bonito flakes, and sliced nori over them. A helping of freshly made octopus balls was completed. Chapter 1814. Look, this octopus ball can move. Amy inched closer to the octopus ball in front of her as she watched it with her azure blue eyes in shock. The bonito flakes on the octopus ball were really moving slowly like a blooming flower. Is this a kind of insect? Anna moved backward a little out of fear. Don't be afraid. This is not an insect. Mag looked at the shocked faces with a smile. This thing that is moving is called bonito flakes. It was cut into slices as thin as paper, and because the freshly cooked octopus balls are very hot, the bonito flakes start to change shape the moment they heat up. Therefore, they appear to be moving. Amy reached out to pick one piece of the bonito flake. The flake, which was thinner than paper, was slightly translucent, and even one's breath could make it move. Amy put that piece of bonito flake into her mouth, and smacked her lips together. This bonito flake disappeared the moment it went into my mouth. Everyone laughed. The freshly made octopus balls are a little hot. Be careful when you eat them, Mag reminded everyone. Of course, the right way to enjoy this dish is to eat the octopus ball together with the bonito flakes and shredded seaweed all in one mouth. It's so hot. Before Mag could finish his words, Angela already had her mouth wide open as she blew out hot air. Her tongue was scalded by an octopus ball, making her roll her eyes. She wanted to spit it out, but could not bear to do so. Everyone who was about to dig in quickly stopped, and watched Angela worriedly. Angela was at an awkward stage. She never knew that such a harmless and even cute-looking little golden ball could actually be so ferocious. The crispy outer layer had boiling magma wrapped up inside. Hot. That bite released the signal of danger. However, before she could turn around to spit it out, the hidden goodness surged out. The sweet corn and a hint of spiciness, together with the chewy octopus tentacle, exploded in her mouth without warning. The sweet and sour ketchup and sweet mayonnaise on the outside, as well as the fresh bonito flakes and shredded seaweed. In the midst of her suffering, the goodness of the octopus ball started to take the upper hand. The freshness of the octopus stood out among the seasonings and other ingredients, bringing about an irresistible taste. Amidst the burning heat and deliciousness, Angela seemed to have seen a miraculous scene. It was as though a wonderful spell had flashed past her eyes, and she was just not yet at the required level to see it clearly and understand it. After a while, the temperature in her open mouth decreased, and she could finally chew properly. After that, she swallowed the octopus ball. Is it good? Big Sister Angela? Amy asked curiously. Angela's expression scared her just now. Everyone also looked at her curiously. Her expression before was so complicated that everyone could not tell if it meant that the food was good or bad. If you could wait a bit while eating it, I reckon this is something no one could resist, Angela said seriously. After that, she picked up the second octopus ball, and put it into her mouth. Hoo! Ah! Hoo! She seemed to have immersed herself in another realm of pain and enjoyment. She seemed to have started enjoying the trance-like feeling that it brought to her, as though she would be able to break the secret to the succubus's curse once again if she caught hold of anything. Everyone hesitated for a while after they watched Angela, who had already ignored them, and all tried the golden little balls to find out what kind of charm they had. With Angela's experience, everyone was ready for the heat. They blew on it carefully before putting it into their mouth. When they bit into it, they were also very careful. The moment they felt the heat, they would quickly pause, and open their mouths a little for the heat to disperse before continuing. It's delicious. Crispy on the outside, tender on the inside. Although the taste is blander compared to stir-fried octopus tentacles, this actually retains the freshness of the octopus better. It's another kind of deliciousness. All of a sudden, there were endless praises, and the ladies were all immersed in the goodness of the octopus ball. Mag smiled. It seemed like the octopus ball suited everyone's tastes. Camilla sat at the side, and swallowed her saliva. She still had no expression on her face, but she was suddenly regretting her decision not to order the octopus balls as well. Annie, who had one octopus ball, glanced at Camilla. She put her chopsticks down, and pushed her plate to Camilla gently. She used her hands to sign the action of eating, and then smiled obediently. "You're telling me to eat it?" Camilla looked at Annie in shock. Annie nodded, seeming to have understood Camilla. "I'm full." Camilla pushed the plate back. Annie shook her head, pointed to the octopus ball, and then stuck out her middle finger. "Try one." Annie nodded. Camilla smiled. She suddenly felt very touched. She hesitated for a while before picking the octopus ball with her chopsticks, and putting it into her mouth. The exploding goodness made her lonely tongue go crazy as though a drama was playing. Her face blushed, and it felt as though there really was a pair of hands caressing her gently. "Thank you, Annie." Camilla opened her eyes. She pushed the plate back to Annie with a slight pant, and then glared at Mag. Mag. He did not force her to eat it. Why did she give him the look that she had been taken advantage of? At this moment, he was filled with questions. The octopus balls were quickly finished, and the delicious snack completed the employee's meal. "All right. Let's begin operation." Mag glanced at the clock on the wall, tidied himself up, and walked towards the restaurant door. Everyone cleaned up quickly, and changed to work mode within a second. Gina was not around in the afternoon, and Bablaya had returned to the moon. Therefore, they were a little short-handed, and everyone had to be alert. Mag looked at his watch. The second hand pointed to 12, and he opened the restaurant door. "Welcome to Mamie Restaurant," Mag said with a smile. He looked past the 10th-tier powerhouses in front of the door, and saw Gloria and a golden-haired young lady with her. He was stunned. Chapter 1815 F***CK, I'm jealous. Mag's eyelids twitched suddenly. How is this an orc lady? This is Irina in a disguise. She actually disguised herself as an orc when she could be an elf. But those orc ears were rather cute, and he wanted to. Puh! Mag almost slapped himself. Was he someone like that? He was not going to think about anything. At this point in time, she looked at Mag expectantly, and then at Miss Gloria, who was standing beside her. Just as Mag looked over, Gloria had already tidied up herself, and looked up just at that time, looking forward to the moment their gazes met. It was great that she could see Mr. Mag again. After leaving Chaos City, she was worried if Mr. Mag saw the letter. If something really happened, would she see him again? The moment she returned to Chaos City today, she came straight to Mamie Restaurant before she even went to Jeffrey for the handover. However, Mag did not look at her, but at the lady beside her. She felt an inexplicable sense of disappointment. Gloria could not help but peek at the young lady beside her. She was very beautiful and fair. On top of that, she had a noble aura around her. Her figure was very good, and she had a cute pair of orc ears. Even a woman would find her very stunning. What a beautiful lady! Gloria was stunned. She could not help but sigh. She was such a beautiful lady. Who wouldn't take a few more looks at her? Mag retracted his gaze. He stood a little taller, and greeted the customers as usual. However, he was not cheeky like he was, but a little more decent. Even when those ladies who admired him walked past him, he would only give them a smile, and did not look at them for long. The line moved forward quickly. Gloria and Irina arrived at the door almost at the same time. "Mr. Mag, long time no see." Gloria looked at Mag and blushed. Although she had a lot of things to say, all she was left with now was just "long time no see." The recollection of the moment she pushed the letter under the door made her face hot. This was an action unbefitting of a lady, and it made her want to hide. Mag glanced at Irina, who was looking at him with seemingly a smile behind Gloria, in his peripheral vision, and then at Gloria, who was blushing, and all of a sudden he knew he was in trouble. He could roughly sense that the foldable chair was going to land on his head soon. "Miss Gloria, long time no see." Miss nodded slightly, greeting Gloria like she was a normal friend. Of course, he was like that usually. However, today he felt as though there were knives sticking in his back. And he was terrified right now. It felt as though he was put on a public trial. He didn't mention that letter. Gloria was a little happy, yet a little disappointed. She lowered her gaze and walked into the restaurant, blushing and with mixed emotions. "Hello, I'm Audrey. I heard that the food you make is very good, is that right?" a confident voice said. Gloria slowed down subconsciously. Although she controlled her urge to turn back, she could not help but turn a little to listen to the voice behind her. "Audrey. What a beautiful name." Miss looked at Irina with admiration. "Miss Audrey, you would have to try the food for yourself to know if it's good." He liked this disguise. He also liked that he could converse freely with her in public. And he liked this conversation of meeting for the first time with her even more. "I love good food, and also someone who can make good food." Irina smiled and grazed past Mag. "Wow! That's F***ck, I'm jealous. Boss, I want to learn how to cook." The male customers in and out of the restaurant all looked at Mag enviously. He had already won the priority seat. Meanwhile, the ladies who admired Mag had a resentful look. However, when they saw Irina, they sincerely felt that only a perfect person like her could be compatible with an outstanding man like Mag. Mag smiled and did not mind it, but was feeling sweet inside. This was different from all the young ladies confessing, "Boss Mag, I love you," or "I want to make a baby with you." Irina really made a baby with him. No, it was Amy. Mia and the rest were shocked. This customer came to the restaurant to dine for the first time, and they did not expect her to be so bold. Gloria heard Irina's words clearly. She was slightly shocked. How could she be so bold? Although she was not the one who said it, Gloria could not help but blush. At the same time, she was a little worried. If the woman tried Mr. Mag's food, she would definitely fall in love with him. Would Mr. Mag feel the same way about her? She was flustered. She searched for a two-seater near the window, and sat down. "May I take a seat here?" A sweet and beautiful voice broke her train of thought. Gloria looked up, and met eyes with Irina. She was stunned for a while before she nodded quickly, and said, "Of course. No one else is sitting here." "Thank you." Irina sat opposite Gloria. Gloria quickly readjusted herself. Although she did not have the same presence Irina had, she was after all a noble lady, and her experience in the business world prepared her to face anything. She sat calmly and smiled, as though she was sizing Irina up courteously. Many customers started looking over. Taking a few more glances over was so pleasing to the eye with two beautiful women sitting at the same table. "Wow, what a beautiful big sister!" Amy, who was sitting behind the counter with Annie, had her eyes wide open. However, she curiously muttered to herself, "Why do I feel that this big sister seems a little familiar?" Annie looked at Irina questioningly. She dipped her finger into the cup of water beside her, and started drawing a long-haired elf on the counter, but no one noticed it. "Do you like the boss of this restaurant?" Irina asked with a smile, breaking the silence. Chapter 1816 The Crepe Cake Love Theory. Gloria was a little eager to explain, but there were many things going through her mind, and she did not know what to say all of a sudden. Liking Boss Mag? She seemed to have never thought about it seriously. Perhaps, she had been avoiding this question. Boss Mag was special to her. If it was not for that tofu pudding, she might still be a young lady covering her face up with a black veil, living in a dark corner cautiously, and not knowing her worth. It was Mr. Mag who made her throw her veil away, and find her goal and value in life. And the ever so talented he would always provide her with a gently from behind. No other man had treated her like this other than her father. Did she like him? Perhaps. It was just that she had been hiding this thought carefully, afraid that others would see through it, and afraid that Mr. Mag would find out. She was afraid that if she were to do anything rashly, Mr. Mag would be repelled by her actions, and she might lose his gentleness forever. She looked up at Irina, sitting right in front of her, and suddenly seemed to have understood something. Yes. Even someone who had met Mr. Mag for the first time was able to say something so bold. Why should she hide her feelings in such a lowly manner? Mr. Mag is a very gentle and talented person. Gloria looked at Irina with a smile. I think everyone likes him. Irina squinted slightly, and started to look at this beautiful and pure young lady properly. Everyone liked him. That would naturally include her. The crux was whether she would like him the same way as everyone did. Everyone would only say that Mag was a talented cook, but Gloria did not mention anything about food. Instead, she said he was talented. That meant that she had already seen past the first layer, and had a longer and deeper understanding of Mag, hinting that she came first. As for gentleness, that was a rather ambiguous term. Gentle with his words? Gentle with his actions? Was he gentle in the restaurant? Or gentle on the bed? Pairing the word up with any location or noun would represent the depth of their relationship. However, no matter which level it was at, she had already achieved the motive of making her dominance known. This was the so-called crepe cake love theory. She only said a simple statement, and which layer one could reach would depend on experience. Hee hee. Irina glanced at Mag, who was walking into the kitchen. Mag felt a chill down his spine. He glanced over, saw Irina and Gloria sitting face to face, and could not help but swallow his saliva. He hastened his pace. What was so scary about that? He did nothing. Gloria blushed slightly. However, she was still trying to maintain her composure. At least she would not allow herself to lose to Irina once again in terms of presence. This was a war that she could not lose. I came because I heard the food is delicious. Can you recommend me something? Irina flipped open the menu, and looked at Gloria with a smile. Gloria, who was prepared for a second wave of attack, was stunned. She did not expect Irina to seek her help, and out of courtesy, she replied seriously, Mr. Mag is the most outstanding chef in Chaos City. Every dish that he makes is delicious. However, different people have different taste preferences, so they might like different things. I prefer slightly blander food. Therefore, I would usually order the sweet tofu pudding and the rainbow fried rice, which is also called the Yangzhou fried rice. Occasionally, I would also order the pepper steak, and the braised chicken and rice is also a very good choice. Irina listened seriously, and looked at Gloria with admiration. This lady was indeed very kind to be able to recommend food to her potential rival with sincerity. Thank you for your recommendation. Irina nodded with a smile. After that, she calmly said, I heard that the owner of this restaurant has a 3-year-old daughter. Would your family agree to you marrying an old man with a daughter? Gloria, who thought that the atmosphere had eased, was hit by another unexpected wave of attack. Little Amy is a very cute and kind little elf. I think everyone could get along well with her. Gloria smiled. That's true. You'll have to see who gave birth to her. Irina raised her brow. Mr. Mag is at his prime. Compared to those immature and ignorant people of the same age, I prefer interacting with more mature people, Gloria carried on. The word prime was worth thinking over. Irina looked at Gloria. Compared to the shyness when she just entered, she had suddenly improved a lot. Do your family members have no opinions about that? Irina continued asking. Gloria was stumped for words. Judging from her grandfather's character, if he were to hand the Moreton family over to her, he would definitely not allow her to marry Mr. Mag. He might even request that her future husband marry into their family. Mr. Mag was such an outstanding person. How would he be willing to marry into someone's family, as if a gigolo? It's very difficult for a marriage without the blessings of your family to turn out blissful. Irina looked at Gloria, and comforted her, I am different. I do not have a family. Gloria blinked as she looked at Irina. She suddenly felt a sense of defeat. This was the first time they exchanged blows, but it was apparent that she had lost. Irina smiled. Although this was an insignificant victory to her, it was enough to make her feel better than whacking a useless 10th-tier fool with a foldable chair. I'm Audrey. You are very beautiful. May I know your name? Irina asked Gloria with a smile. Gloria was slightly stunned. She suddenly found herself to be a joke. She actually let her emotions be controlled by a person she did not even know. I'm Gloria. Pleased to meet you, Gloria said with a smile. Your clothes are very beautiful. Are they custom-made? Irina looked at the grey long-down jacket that Gloria was wearing. Mag gave her something similar in white previously. Although Mag gave all the ladies in the restaurant clothes, the ones he gave were uniforms. She did not care about that. However, if he were to give them to other ladies. This was made by our factory. It's not really considered custom-made. Gloria shook her head with a smile. She was a little shocked that such a beautiful lady like Audrey had not actually heard of blue suede. She hesitated for a while before asking, Miss Audrey, did you just arrive at Chaos City? Irina raised her brow as she expressed her shock. Gloria smiled silently. This time, she seemed to have won the round. This restaurant owner is such a talented man. I love it. Irina smiled, and even turned back to look towards the kitchen without hiding the admiration in her eyes. Mag was flipping the kebabs in the kitchen. He glanced at the two ladies through the window, and suddenly felt a little guilty. Miss Gloria was gentle but not weak, and very kind, so there was nothing to worry too much about. However, Irina chose to sit with her. Could it be due to yesterday's letter? That made him a little uneasy. The customers took their seats, and started ordering their food. Krasu and Urian were sitting at the same table with Louis and Douglas. The four exchanged glances, and none of them were in a hurry to look at the menu. Mia walked over with the menu with a smile as she asked, May I take your order? My beloved disciple. What do you recommend that is good? Louis asked Yabimiya with a chuckle. I find every dish delicious. We have a new product today. You can try the scrumptious and octopus ball. They are all very good, Yabimiya said with a smile. Louis's smile froze. Yes, yes, yes. Give him a serving of stir-fried octopus tentacles and a serving of octopus balls. It's on me, Krasu said as he clapped his hands. Louis's face turned black. However, he was the one who boasted to Krasu just now, so he could only say, give him two of the same thing. It's on me. Krasu's smile disappeared. He looked at Urian and Douglas, who were watching the show, and thought of a plan. Chuckling, he said, I've always been very curious about something. It's said that Urian is the top ice magic caster, and Douglas is the top frost dragon. Ice vs ice, who exactly is number one? Amy came over with Ugly Duckling as she asked curiously, who's number one? Urian, who was not affected by Krasu's incitation, sat up straight subconsciously to give off the presence of a master when Amy came over. He glared at Douglas. Douglas looked at Amy, and then looked at Urian. The two exchanged gazes, and the temperature within 2 meters of the table suddenly fell. A frost wall slowly appeared between the two. No fighting in the restaurant. A ball of fire suddenly appeared, and after passing a few times through the frost wall, which had yet to be completely formed, the ice all evaporated, and the temperature returned to normal. Douglas knew she was Krasu and Urian's beloved disciple and the daughter of the restaurant's owner. He would naturally not blow up over such a small action, and he was not going to fight in the restaurant, either. He smiled and looked at how Urian would answer his disciple's question. Both of them were adept in using ice, and many had indeed compared them. Up till today, there was no conclusion as to who was better than whom. If it was Frost Domain, of course he would be better. However, he was not 100% confident that he could enter the Frost Domain before Urian's spell hit. Little Amy, let me tell you. The most powerful ice magic caster would not be afraid of eating stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls. As long as you order a set of stir-fried octopus tentacles for them, the most powerful ice magic caster will naturally be the one who will finish the entire dish up to the last tentacle. Before Urian could say anything, Krasu had already made his speech. Really? I've had a lot of octopus tentacles and octopus balls. Amy looked at Urian, and asked curiously, Master Urian, is that the case? Urian froze. If it weren't because he was unwilling to fight in the restaurant, Krasu would have already died 10,000 times under his lethal glare. Old sir, are you afraid to eat the octopus ball too? It's round and small and super cute, Amy commented as he looked at Douglas in disbelief. This time, it was Douglas's turn to be stunned. If he did not dare to eat the octopus ball which a little girl described as super cute, he would be utterly embarrassed. Oh, I am very impressed indeed. Amy nodded thoughtfully. Of course I dare to eat it. Urian looked at Yabimiya, and said, I want a set of stir-fried octopus tentacles and a set of octopus balls. It's just octopus tentacles. What's so scary? I'll have one too, Douglas added. This was when he should not lose to them. Although the two appeared to have put in a lot of determination, Amy did not seem impressed. She carried Ugly Duckling back to the counter, unamused. It's just an octopus ball. Even Ugly Duckling could finish one easily. The powerhouses of the other races who were sitting slightly further away looked over with admiration. The top powerhouses of the Norland continent indeed. After the battle yesterday, they actually dared to order the octopus tentacles. Don't leave after the meal, Urian said with a glare at Krasu. Are you going to beat me up? Krasu looked disinterested. In any case, he should not be the only one suffering. Now, it was fair. The four of them ordered a few other dishes for themselves before Yabimiya walked over to the other tables. Tisk, tisk. It's indeed right to stay far away from them. They are all loonies. Dracula looked away. He flipped open the menu, and looked at what he wanted to have for lunch. This old sir, your clothes look quite nice. Are they custom-made? Harrison, who was sitting in front of him, asked carefully. Dracula glanced at him, tidied up his tuxedo, and replied proudly, yes, it was custom-made by the best tailor in the Boundless Sea Realm. Such a pity that the Boundless Sea Realm is a little far. Otherwise, I would get myself one too, Harrison said. They don't have it in your size. Dracula rolled his eyes. This little fatty didn't really know himself. Hee hee. Isn't it custom-made? The size would naturally not be a problem. Harrison smiled. May I get your order? Yabimiya had arrived at their table. Beautiful lady, please give me a serving of pepper steak and a pint of beer, Dracula said with a smile. Miss Mia, I want a set of stir-fried octopus tentacles, a large serving of the octopus ball, 10 sticks of roasted pig's eyes, 1 serving of stinky tofu, 1 bowl of rice, and a pint of beer. Thank you, Harrison ordered. Chapter 1818 This light is rather unique. He thought that staying far away from Krasu's table meant that no one else would order such a scary dish. He did not expect that after walking around in circles, and finding such an isolated two-seater, the little fatty sitting with him would actually order those 2 dishes too. On top of the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus ball, he even ordered the roasted pig's eyes. What kind of scary food is this? Could it be made by roasting the eyeballs on the octopus tentacles? Also, what is stinky tofu? As a vampire with mysophobia, he could never accept something smelly being served to his table. Harrison looked at Dracula's strange expression, and said passionately, Old sir, would you like a serving of stinky tofu as well? This is the treasure of Mamie restaurant. You will never be able to find a delicacy as peculiar as this outside this door. No, thanks. Dracula rejected without hesitation. He looked at Harrison with annoyance, and thought about how to get him to change tables. If you're not going to eat stinky tofu, why are you sitting at the designated stinky tofu area? Harrison asked curiously. Designated stinky tofu area. Dracula was completely dumbfounded. Yes. As some customers do not eat stinky tofu, Boss Mag specially drew out this area for the customers who want to have stinky tofu to sit together in this designated stinky tofu area. It's just this row of 2-seaters against the wall. Harrison nodded with a smile. It looks like it's your first time eating at Mamie restaurant. Says who? This is not my first time here. Dracula just didn't come over during normal operating hours. Now, he was in an awkward position. It would be too embarrassing for him to leave. Besides, there were no empty seats in the restaurant anymore. If he was to force Harrison to leave, the next person coming in would probably order the stinky tofu as well. That would be meaningless. Hee. If you've not tried the stinky tofu before, do not worry. It just stinks. However, it's delicious when you eat it. Once you're accustomed to its smell, you will be in love with it, Harrison said with a chuckle. Worried? Hee. Why would I be worried over a dish? Dracula pursed his lips. He could not show his weakness to a human fatty. He was, after all, the face of the vampires. I want a serving of stir-fried octopus tentacles. Same here. I want to try the new product. 2 large sets of octopus balls for me. The powerhouses of the various tribes started to panic upon hearing the orders of the people around. No one would expect these customers to be so welcoming of food made from octopuses. Some of the powerhouses even could not sit still, and wanted to finish their food quickly so they could scoot out quickly. What would you like to have? Yabimiya came over to Gloria and Irina's table. She could not help but take a few more glances at Irina. This orc lady is really beautiful. The way she spoke to boss just now was so bold. She dared to flirt with the boss in front of so many people. Although this was not the first time such things have happened, she is definitely the prettiest among all the other ladies. However, if she really confessed to boss, would he accept her? No one would reject such a cute and beautiful lady, right? Thinking of that made Yabimiya worry. If they were to have a lady boss in the restaurant, would she lay off all of them? After that, Yabimiya glanced at Miss. These beautiful noble young mistresses seemed to have an extraordinary relationship with boss as well. Would she also be thinking about becoming the lady boss of the restaurant? If all of them really wanted to become the lady boss of the restaurant, boss would be very vexed, right? After all, it would not be easy to make a choice between two such beautiful and outstanding young ladies. "I'll have a serving of Yangzhou fried rice and a savory tofu pudding," Irina said with a smile. She had also noticed that there were 2 new dishes related to octopus on the menu. Mag did not mention it to her in the morning, and the thought of it killed her appetite. Although the octopus monster had been resealed, and would not be able to come out to wreak havoc, the thought of that squiggly mountain of meat and those tentacles full of eyeballs made her shudder. She would never touch any food that had to do with octopuses. What made her even more uncomfortable was, Mag once cut a piece of the tentacle, and brought it back. After that, he brought it out to show the various representatives as evidence, but she had a feeling that it was a bit smaller than it was. On top of that, Mag had brought Amy and the other girls to the extreme north, and not to the seaside. And right at this time, coincidentally, he launched 2 products related to octopuses. Was this really just a coincidence? "I'd like a serving of braised chicken and rice, a serving of sweet tofu pudding, and a small serving of octopus balls." Gloria looked at Yabimiya, and thanked her with a smile. "All right, please hold on for a moment." Yabimiya cleared the thoughts in her mind, and walked off to the next table. "Miss Audrey, you don't seem to prefer sweet food," Gloria said with a smile in an attempt to soothe the tense atmosphere. "Yes, my taste preferences are rather bland. I do not like overly sweet food." Irina nodded with a smile. She looked at Gloria, and hesitated for a while before saying, "Miss Gloria, do you know what an octopus is?" "I don't." Gloria shook her head. "It sounds like seafood." "Ignorance is bliss at times indeed." Irina sighed to herself. However, on second thought, Mag probably would not use the devil's tentacles as ingredients for the customer's food. It was costly and dangerous. Besides, what customer would dare to eat something so scary looking? "Miss Audrey, do you know what an octopus is?" Gloria asked curiously. "I don't, either. Maybe it is a type of seafood." Irina shook her head. "Your stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls." Yabimiya and Angela served 5 servings of stir-fried octopus tentacles and 5 servings of octopus balls to Crassus' table. The 4 10th-tier powerhouses looked up at the same time. "This light is rather unique," Crassus exclaimed. "Yes. It's pretty bright." Louis nodded. "Stop putting on an act. You ordered the octopus tentacles, so you got to finish it. Don't you even have the courage to look at it?" Urian mocked. "Someone take a look and see if there are eyes on it." "I am a little trypophobic," Douglas said unnaturally. The customers around looked over with strange expressions. They had no idea what these people were doing. However, when they saw the food, they swallowed their saliva. "Smells pretty good." Crassus sniffed, and could not help but swallow his saliva. After saying that, the other 3, who had even blocked out their sense of smell, could not help but take a whiff. Gulp! There was a very loud gulping sound. All 3 of them could no longer control their expressions. Chapter 1819. Who could stand this? That plate of dish with vibrant colors should be the stir-fried octopus tentacles. It consisted of a few colorful side ingredients chopped into small pieces mixed in with the octopus tentacles, making it look very appetizing. So octopus tentacles were this small. They were just the thickness of a thumb, and there were no eyeballs on it. The surface was gleaming with a layer of oil, and with a hint of the sauce's color, it was actually rather enticing. As for the so-called octopus balls, they should be the golden balls in the black square plate. They were bite-sized, and there was a layer of wood shavings covering them. Crassus' eyes widened as he looked at the wood shavings. These things were actually moving? Perhaps they were not wood shavings, but a kind of very thin worm? Crassus lowered his head and inched closer to study the moving wood shavings very seriously. This thing seemed rather weird, but it was not scary. These 2 dishes made from octopus were completely different from what he expected. They were actually not scary at all. The stir-fried octopus tentacles were very enticing, and the octopus balls were cute and strange. It seemed like a normal octopus was very different from the octopus monster. It's not scary at all. Krasu raised his brow. He glanced at the other three, who still did not dare to look at the table, and quickly put on a frustrated expression. Tisk, tisk. Th, this is a little too scary. The three, who saw that Krasu had already looked, were about to take a glance, but upon hearing that, they quickly looked away. Hey, hey, hey! You guys, take a look too. The dishes are already served. Why aren't you taking a look? I can't be suffering alone, Krasu quickly said. The three did not move. Look, everyone here is of the 10th tier. Don't you even have that amount of courage? It seems like I can be the only brave soul here. Krasu picked up a piece of octopus tentacle, and put it into his mouth. The three glanced at Krasu at the same time. Krasu chewed, and his eyes lit up. This crispy and tender octopus tentacle had a superb texture. The moment he bit into it, the freshness of the octopus exploded in his mouth. Its goodness filled his entire mouth, and hit him straight in the soul. Krasu felt as though he was submerged in an endless realm of water. There was no fear, and the most amazing part was that he even had the ability to breathe in the water. He looked around curiously. It was a deep blue everywhere. There would be some fishes swimming past him occasionally without any signs of being afraid of him. After that, he found a ball of flickering flame in the depths of the sea. Why is there fire deep in the sea? He swam towards the ball of flame in shock. However, no matter how hard he tried to go close to it, the ball of flame would be a certain distance away from him as it shone in a unique way. The pressure of the water around him increased, but Krasu could still clearly. In the middle of the flames, he seemed to have seen an incredible law. Krasu took a long breath out as though he had held his breath in the water for a very long time. He looked at the chopsticks that were still in his hands, and realized that he was eating. What was that? Krasu was a little dazed. Could it be a hallucination? However, the hallucination was completely different from the octopus monster he saw in the underground cavern. He felt that if he could grasp that ball of flames, he might actually be able to improve his skills. Could it be related to the octopus? Krasu picked up another octopus tentacle, hesitated for a while, and put it into his mouth. The moment he started chewing, the goodness was released, and he went back into that miraculous state again. The rest watched as Krasu took a bite of the octopus tentacle, and went into a trance-like state. They were all shocked, and quickly looked down. The dishes on the table looked unexpectedly good. There were no scary large tentacles, nor were there any red eyeballs. They were even, a little cute. This is his son. Louis stroked his chin. This should be the normal octopus from the boundless sea realm, Douglas deduced. It doesn't look like much. Urian picked up his chopsticks, and put a piece of octopus tentacle into his mouth. Before Urian could taste the goodness of the octopus tentacle, an endless realm of ice and frost appeared before him. Is it really that good? Louis looked at the two who were in a daze, hesitated for a while, picked up a tiny octopus ball, and put it into his mouth. MMSSSS. Hot. The moment he bit into the octopus ball, Louis opened his mouth and blew out a few breaths of hot air. After that, he quickly went into a miraculous realm. Douglas could not stand them. He picked up a piece of octopus tentacle, and put it into his mouth, thinking, isn't it just an octopus tentacle? Why are all of them making it seem so? After that, he saw an ice mirror that stretched out into the sky and ground. The four of them came back from that state almost at the same time, and happened to match gazes. After that, they gulped. What did you guys see? Krasu asked, his throat feeling a little parched. Something very miraculous. Louis was in disbelief. I have to say, this octopus tentacle might allow us to gain something, Douglas said seriously. He guessed that they had all seen different things, but the meaning was the same. Interesting. Urian only uttered one word, and was on his second piece of octopus tentacle. Krasu and the others did not speak further. They continued eating. Is it really that good? Are they ganging up together to put on an act in front of us? That's octopus tentacles. How can they eat it with such gusto? The powerhouses, who were watching the four, were all in shock when they saw them eating the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls so deliciously. Look at the color of this roasted pig's eyes. The thin outer layer of the eyeball is filled with liquid, and it looks as though it would explode if it was roasted any longer. Only Boss Mag could master such skills. I heard that there were people who were trying to copy him, but the eyeballs exploded all over the place, and they were scalded into fools. Harrison picked up a skewer of roasted pig's eyes, and introduced it to Dracula. Dracula glanced at the skewer of eyeballs, and was immediately reminded of the eyeballs on the octopus tentacles. This might be called roasted pig's eyes, but who knew if this was the eyeballs on the octopus tentacles? After suppressing the urge to throw up, Dracula looked at Harrison. This little fatty actually liked that scary-looking thing. Not everyone could have that courage. PFFF, the moment Harrison bit into the eyeball, Dracula could clearly hear it exploding. Who could stand this? Dracula looked at the goosebumps on his arms and panicked. Chapter 1820. It's delish. Old sir, would you like to try one? After finishing 2 skewers, and gulping down half a pint of beer, Harrison handed a skewer of roasted pig's eyes to Dracula warmly. No, Dracula rejected him expressionlessly. There was no reason for him to flare up on this little fatty when he was so nice. Then I'll help myself to it. Harrison smiled, and bit on one roasted pig's eye. The veins on Dracula's forehead throbbed. He almost did not resist the urge. Dracula stabbed a piece of steak with his fork, and put it into his mouth. The fragrance of red wine and steak diffused in his mouth, and that made Dracula shift his attention back onto his steak. One could never get sick of this steak. On top of that, this red wine. What a waste of the good stuff. Your stinky tofu. Angela served a round plate which was covered with a golden cover, and placed it in front of Harrison. After that, she removed the cover. A uniquely stinky tofu's fragrance exploded out like a fragrant bomb. Urgh, Dracula, who was immersed in the goodness of the steak, spat everything out the moment he took a slight whiff of the stinky tofu. Whose toilet exploded? Dracula covered his nose, and waved his hand while creating a smell barrier around himself. He looked at the little fatty, as well as that black thing in front of him, in disbelief. Hee, old sir, this is the top-grade delicacy, you'll have to see it to believe it. Stinky tofu. Harrison picked up the black stinky tofu carefully as though it was a treasure. He dipped it in the sauce, and then put it into his mouth. Oh, this taste! It elevates my soul. Harrison's eyes rolled back as he indulged in the goodness of the stinky tofu. What kind of monster is he? Are humans so hardcore now? Harrison was dumbfounded. It seems like I can't drink humans' blood anymore. They are no longer pure. Your stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls with rice. Yabimiya quickly served the dishes to Harrison again. The name itself made Dracula look away. On top of that, he started seriously considering if he should just move away with his steak. If this went on, he would not be able to finish his meal properly, no matter how good the steak was. Boss Mag is incredible. This dish is as beautiful as a flower, and these little balls are so cute, Harrison exclaimed. I'm not believing you. This little fatty is so naughty. Dracula rolled his eyes, and was not convinced. Hey, old sir, if you don't like the stinky tofu and the roasted pig's eyes, why don't you give this a try? Harrison told Dracula. He felt a little apologetic that his stinky tofu seemed to have affected Dracula's meal. No, Dracula rejected coldly. What a joke! Even if he were to die here, he would never eat the octopus tentacles. This old sir is a little proud, Harrison thought to himself. However, he did not go on lest Dracula got annoyed. He picked up an octopus tentacle, and put it into his mouth. This time, there was no sound at all. Dracula found it a little strange that Harrison was suddenly so quiet after all his exaggerated exclamations and nonsense. Hee, it's revenge. Your fault for eating everything. Dracula smiled to himself. He glanced at Harrison, but was stunned by what he saw. This little fatty was not petrified. Instead, he seemed to be in a trance-like state. His eyes were unfocused, and his pinky was raised a little, as though he had seen something miraculous. What's going on again? Could the stir-fried octopus tentacles really be that good? Dracula was confused. He hesitated for a while, and glanced over. There were 2 new dishes on the table. There was a colorful plate of food. The red and green capsicums and purple onions took up half the plate, while the small pieces of octopus tentacles took another half of the plate. The surface of the food was glistening, and there was nothing like eyeballs on it. The tentacles were only about the thickness of his pinky finger, and one could barely associate them with the octopus monster in the underground cavern. The food served on the square plate beside had to be the so-called octopus balls. They were golden brown and indeed very cute. Just this? Dracula was stunned. He felt as though he was cheated of his feelings. This is an octopus tentacle? This is nothing. At this moment, Harrison regained his senses. He looked at Dracula in surprise, and said, "Old sir, you have to give this a try. I saw the true meaning in life." As he said that, Harrison pushed the plate towards Dracula. A corner of the plate was squeezed into Dracula's smell barrier. The fragrance of the stir-fried octopus tentacles bloomed. "What's this smell?" Dracula was shocked. The strong fragrance wafted into his nose domineeringly. It was the scent of the ocean. Together with the other ingredients and seasoning, it had become very enticing. As a vampire who had lived for centuries in the boundless sea realm, he knew that octopuses came from the sea. The ancestor of the fear demons had a huge octopus as a pet. However, he never expected that someone would make it into a dish, and that the dish would be so enticing. Gulp! Dracula swallowed his saliva and blushed. He was craving it. However, he was the ancestor of the vampires. He had an image to upkeep. Look at how deliciously those few guys are eating it. Harrison eyed Krasso's table with a smile, and said, "Boss Mag's new products are all worth a try." Dracula turned around to take a glance, and happened to see Louis putting an octopus ball into his mouth. The other 3 were looking for the octopus tentacles in a pile of side ingredients. Dracula felt that the image he needed to upkeep suddenly disappeared. "Here, give it a try." Harrison passed Dracula a pair of chopsticks with a smile. Dracula did not resist further. He picked up a piece of octopus tentacle, and put it into his mouth. Oh! This taste! The crispy and tender octopus tentacle could be bitten off very easily. It was slightly spicy but very refreshing. The sauce gave it a lot of layers and a wealth of taste. The goodness that was hidden was also released as he chewed. While a vampire who grew up facing the sea, he had never experienced such an intensity of the goodness of the sea. What was more incredible was that he actually tasted it in a city in the middle of the continent. No words could describe his current emotions, and he only had 2 words. "It's delish." He had been training very hard, and could faintly feel the restrictions of his bloodline, making the fusion not smooth. The problem was that he was unable to look into his body to find out what was wrong, and was stumped for quite a while. The incredible thing was that after eating that piece of octopus tentacle, he could actually successfully look into himself, and see how the golden ancestor bloodline operated within him. Although it was slowly fusing with his blood, the process was not smooth, and there were many obstructions. However, if he could ascertain the reasons that brought about the obstructions, he could definitely find suitable plans to solve the problem, and complete the step of fusing his blood together even quicker. That's too magical. This ordinary-looking octopus tentacle could actually have such a miraculous effect? Dracula looked at the stir-fried octopus tentacles in front of him in disbelief, and blinked to make sure that he was not dreaming. It's good, right? Harrison ate a big mouthful of rice, and looked at Dracula with a smile. This was the first time the other party was interested in something he recommended. Harrison reached his chopsticks out to get some more of the dish. Smack! A pair of chopsticks smacked Harrison's chopsticks. Your stir-fried octopus tentacles are very delicious, but right now it's mine, Dracula said domineeringly as he put the plate of stir-fried octopus tentacles in front of himself. Harrison! Order another one for yourself. This meal is on me, Dracula said merrily as he took the plate of octopus balls as well. Harrison retracted his chopsticks, and looked at the two dishes that had left him. He suddenly regretted recommending them so passionately. However, he quickly forgave Dracula since the latter was buying the meal. Miss Mia, I'll have 2 more servings of stir-fried octopus tentacles and 2 large servings of octopus balls. On top of that, get me a beggar's chicken and 2 pints of beer, Harrison ordered happily. I only took 1 serving from you. Why did you order 2 servings and add a chicken and 2 pints of beer? Dracula, who was about to dig into his octopus ball, looked up. Double the serving, double the happiness, Harrison said with a chuckle. Since it was free, he might as well eat all he could. Dracula fell silent. He actually had nothing to say about that, so he continued indulging in the happiness of the octopus balls and stir-fried octopus tentacles. The stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls gave the customers a huge surprise. Chaos City was landlocked, and ordinary people would not be able to try such expensive food. Even the rich customers who frequented restaurants might not be able to find fresh seafood easily. Because of the long distance, even if one were to travel on a flying steed, one would not be able to guarantee that the seafood would still be alive once it reached Chaos City. Therefore, there was no need to even mention experiencing the freshness of it as though it was just fished out of the water. If one craved for seafood, they would have to make their way to the boundless sea realm. However, the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls gave them a pleasant surprise. The freshness and tenderness of the octopus tentacle made one fall deeper into it. Nothing could be compared to this, even if one were to rent a boat out to sea to fish up an octopus freshly to make it. The most incredible thing was its price. A serving of stir-fried octopus tentacles only cost 100 copper coins. The octopus ball was 60 copper coins for the large serving, and 40 copper coins for the small serving. One had to know that even the soybean milk and yushao set meal at Mamie restaurant was already 300 copper coins. It was not that the soybean milk and yushao were not worth the price. As it was a must-have breakfast combination, 300 copper coins in exchange for a rejuvenated soul and good mood was very worthwhile. It was only that it was so baffling that such a precious ingredient like the octopus made into a complicated-looking dish with such extraordinary taste could actually be priced way below everyone's expectations. Of course, it became the go-to order for almost everyone who entered the restaurant because of its low price. There was nothing much to lose with 100 copper coins. Is Boss Mag suddenly going against capitalism, and treating us to a big meal? I am more curious about where Boss Mag got his ingredients from. How could the price be so low? Everyone was even more curious after finishing their food. The various powerhouses, who stayed far away from the octopus tentacle, ended up not being able to resist all the mukbang customers around them. They all started to jump on the bandwagon and immerse themselves in goodness. Gloria picked up the octopus ball with her chopsticks carefully and blew on it. The lady who served the dish reminded her that it was very hot inside the octopus ball, and told her to wait a little before eating it. This lady is rather cute. Irina sized Gloria up quietly as she ate her fried rice listlessly. She grew interested in the lady who wrote the letter when she saw it the day before. However, now that she had met her, Irina found her rather perfect no matter if it was her speech or demeanor. On top of that, she was kind, but not weak. She did not really want to find trouble with Gloria. Mag had concealed his identity, brought Amy to Chaos City alone, and set up this restaurant. Some ladies would definitely have thoughts about an outstanding man who was not taken. But right now, she was ready to come back to claim her possession. It was all right for them to like him, but they had to know that he belonged to her. Even if they liked him, they had to hide it. Otherwise, her stool would be out. After blowing on it for a very long time, Gloria bit into the octopus ball carefully. Although the ball was not very big, it was obviously difficult for her to put it all into her mouth. Besides, it was not elegant and attractive. Therefore, she took a small bite, which also let her test the temperature. The golden brown surface was slightly charred and crispy, and had the faint egg's fragrance. When biting into it, the intense fragrance sealed in the ball surged out all at once. This freshness! The soft filling had generous contents. There were red chili, onions, and cabbage chopped into tiny pieces, corn, and also small pieces of octopus tentacles, all presented in their best form. Her mouth full contained much of the filling, and she chewed on it slowly. The crispy outer layer and soft filling mixed around in her mouth together with the freshness of the octopus tentacle and sweetness of the vegetables, bringing a wonderful feast to her tongue. She smiled broadly. "Is it that good?" Irina wavered as she started to doubt herself. Chapter 1822 Holy Light. Gloria finished her octopus ball in small bites, and opened her eyes, meeting Irina's gaze. "Miss Audrey, do you want to give it a try? This octopus ball is really delicious," Gloria offered with a smile as she pushed the plate of octopus balls towards Irina. Irina looked at Gloria's sincere expression, and hesitated for a while. She then picked up a small octopus ball with her chopsticks with a smile, and said, "Thank you." After that, she put the entire ball into her mouth. Her instinct told her that the octopus ball, topped with bonito flakes and shredded seaweed, and with a dash of seaweed powder and drizzled with ketchup and mayonnaise, should be eaten in a single bite. The moment she bit into the octopus ball, it exploded in her mouth. The slightly scalding temperature did not hurt her. Instead, it triggered her taste buds, and woke them up from their slumber. The sweet and sour sauce wrapped around the slightly charred outer layer. The bonito flakes had a slight roasted scent. The seaweed powder and shredded seaweed added to the fragrance, and after the octopus ball exploded, the sweetness of the vegetables, crunchiness of the corn, and goodness of the octopus tentacle fused perfectly in her mouth. At this moment, Irina felt her soul transcend as she closed her eyes subconsciously. After that, she saw a ray of light flash across the sky, tearing the dark apart. Holy light! Irina was stunned. Her body flew towards the sky. She attempted to search for that light that was growing brighter, and could almost light up the entire sky. After a very, very long time, Irina opened her eyes slowly, and she was unable to hide her shock. She did not manage to catch up with that holy light, but she saw an even larger sky and earth. The upper limit she once thought she knew was just the upper limit that she had set. The real holy light had no upper limit. It could tear apart the dark and shoot through the Milky Way. It came from a limitless distance away, and traveled across the boundless universe. It was unstoppable, and would not stop. That was the real law of the holy light. The so-called holy light technique should be created when the Creator first understood the law of the holy light, Irina thought to herself. The upper limit of the technique came from the Creator's understanding of the holy light. If she could interpret the law of the holy light at a higher level, she would be able to enhance the holy light technique to another level. The holy light could dispel the evil aura in the great old ones, but its harm to their bodies was negligible. This time, they had only sealed half of the great old one, and there might be even more parts of the great old ones hidden in various parts of the Norland continent, awaiting the day they broke through from the seals. Even Mag, who had become stronger, would still be unable to kill that half of the Great Old One. He needed an even stronger helper. The holy light was able to deal a huge blow to the Great Old Ones, and might even turn them into ashes. The scene she just now seemed to be because of the octopus tentacle. Mia, I want another 2 large servings of the octopus ball. Irina raised her hand as she spoke to Yabimiya, who was walking over. Hey! Yabimiya was a little shocked that this beautiful lady actually knew her name, and she even called her in such an endearing way. However, she quickly nodded with a smile, and replied, "All right, please hold on." Gloria was equally shocked, but at the fact that Irina actually wanted another 2 large servings of the octopus balls. She sneaked a peek at her slim waist, and felt a little envious. She can eat so much, and still maintain such a good figure. How enviable! Have some more if you like it, Gloria told Irina generously with a smile. Then I will help myself to them. I'll return them to you later. Irina was eager to verify her hypothesis, and quickly put another octopus ball into her mouth. The moment she bit into the octopus ball, and the goodness started spreading in her mouth, the holy light came just as expected. Indeed. After a long while, Irina opened her eyes. She was filled with joy and questions. It was just as she thought that all the scenes she saw were because of the octopus ball, but after she entered the illusion, she had the chance to see the holy light and the traces it left behind. This was a very miraculous state. Based on her understanding of the holy light technique, she could easily capture some of the laws of the holy light. The even larger laws were what she was still unable to comprehend. However, with just this glance, it was akin to a year's worth of self-realization of the holy light technique. If she could see more of the holy light, she would have more chances to comprehend the law of the holy light. But why would this ordinary-looking octopus tentacle have such a miraculous effect? Is this illusion related to the octopus monster? What they saw, was it the same as what I saw? Questions started flooding into Irina's head. She turned to glance at Mag, who was in the kitchen. This fellow! To think he did not even mention it. Gloria looked at Irina, who turned to look towards the kitchen, and felt worried. She recalled what she said just now when she just came in. Could Miss Audrey have fallen for Mr. Mag? This thought suddenly made her regret recommending the octopus balls to Irina. Such cute-looking and delicious food would always easily capture a young lady's heart. Irina turned back, and happened to meet eyes with Gloria. She smiled slyly. Are you worried that I will fall in love with him? I'm not, Gloria blushed. She shook her head in a fluster and looked down, afraid to look into Irina's eyes, as though those 2 clear eyes could easily see through her thoughts. Irina smiled. She found this lady even more interesting. Although she would never let her have Mag, she could still be friends with her. The 2 servings of octopus balls were served quickly. Here, I had 2 of yours. I'll return you 3. Irina pushed 1 serving of octopus balls towards Gloria with a smile, and said, Of course, do finish it all up if you can. I can't eat so much. If I continue eating, I'll grow fat. Gloria quickly waved her hands in a fluster. However, the moment she saw the golden brown balls, she could not bear to reject them. She hesitated for a while, and said guiltily, Then I'll have just 2 more. Whatever floats your boat. Irina nodded. She picked up an octopus ball, put it into her mouth, and felt the holy light descend upon her again. Chapter 1823 Boss, we're going to lay out our cards. The various powerhouses were addicted to the mysterious illusions, and many were still standing outside the restaurant after lunch hours. Irina did not go too far off, either. She was sitting on a bench nearby. If there hadn't been a group of 10th-tier powerhouses standing at the restaurant, she would have long teleported back and asked Mag about it. What are you doing, not leaving after eating? I am getting ready to teach my disciple her homework. Get going, don't disrupt my disciple's studying, Crassus said with annoyance as he waved at the various representatives. All of them rolled their eyes with no intention to move. Forget it. Do you think we don't know what you're thinking of? We just want to ask the owner about those stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls. Since most of us who had it saw some strange images, and that was helpful to our training to a certain extent, we would naturally have to thank the owner, Lewis said. Say, do you think this owner's culinary skill had reached such an astounding level that his dishes made us see that miraculous imagery? Dracula asked curiously. He wanted to know if his conjecture was possible. The powerhouses thought deeply, and could not say for sure. Those two dishes were indeed very delicious. Other than Mag himself, no one could make food any more delicious. No one could say for sure if a person with such superb culinary skills could actually reach that level because of his skills. We'll find out once we ask. Why stand here brooding over it? Douglas pushed the door open, and the bell rang. Haven't we already ended? Why is there someone at the door? Upon hearing the bell, the ladies turned in shock. Mia put her plates down to go over for a look. Let me go. Mag hung his chef's suit aside, and walked towards the door. He had long discovered that the powerhouses were waiting outside the door, and started making guesses about why they stayed. They were sucking up the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls, and seemed to have forgotten the nightmare of yesterday. They were all so absorbed with the food they appeared to be in a trance-like state. One had to know that all of them were top powerhouses of their tribes, and were professionally trained. They would not usually behave like this. Besides, they did not leave after eating, and were all waiting outside, as though they were trying to ask him for an explanation. This meant that the octopus tentacle probably aided in their training. The only thing that a 10th-tier powerhouse could be interested in was the law of the way. System, what's wrong with your octopus tentacles? There won't be any issues with it, right? Mag asked inside as he walked to the door. After countless tests and live experiments from yours truly, this octopus tentacle was found to be poisonless and harmless. It is also rich in protein and nutrients. Having it for a prolonged period could boost immunity and growth. Having a meal a day would even help an 80-year-old climb up 6 stories in one breath without feeling breathless, the system said proudly. In one breath without feeling breathless is **T. Mag rolled his eyes. Whatever the system said was akin to saying nothing. Let's take a look at the situation first. Since he could not get anything out from the system, Mag could only go take a look at what the powerhouses wanted. The restaurant door opened, and Mag looked at the dozens of powerhouses standing outside in shock. Everyone, we've ceased operations. Are you still hungry? Everyone sized Mag up first. What happened today was too miraculous, and they could not help but suspect if the restaurant's owner was a hidden powerhouse. However, be it through the consciousness testing or their spiritual power scanning, this owner looked just like a mere ordinary human. Perhaps it was due to his long hours of labor in the kitchen, Mag appeared stronger than normal humans, but he was still incomparable to even a first-tier knight. If you randomly threw fireball magic in the streets, you would be able to kill more than 10 of such people. Lewis took a step forward, and said in a loud voice, "Boss, we're not here to eat. My beloved disciple is working at your place, so I won't be beating about the bush. We just want to ask you, what's with your stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls? Are you dissatisfied with these 2 new products? If that is the case, I can refund you the money, and please do not come over to eat again," Mag asked to test the waters. He wore a worried expression, behaving as though he was a pitiful restaurant owner who was cheated. No, boss, we do not mean that." Lewis quickly waved his hands. It would be his greatest loss to be unable to go to a restaurant with such delicious food again. "What do you mean, then?" Mag was still puzzled. He looked at the powerhouses, and then asked, "Are you really not here for a refund?" "Of course not." The powerhouses all waved their hands. This restaurant owner was really good at bringing things out of context. We just want to ask about how the octopus tentacle and octopus ball were made. Louis tried asking in a different way. All the powerhouses looked at Mag expectantly. You want to learn? Mag chuckled. This is a trade secret. Under normal circumstances, I can't teach you. Everyone rolled their eyes. They looked at Mag in an unfriendly manner. This lad was asking for a beating. Say, everyone here is famous. There's no need to get a mid-career switch to learn cooking, right? This dish might look simple, but if you were to really make it, you would probably only understand how to do it, but your hands won't be able to keep up, Mag dissuaded them. All right, boss, we're going to lay out our cards. After eating the stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls you made, we saw some illusions. Louis was a little frustrated. It seemed as though this restaurant owner really knew nothing. He had to be more direct. Don't spout such things casually. I did not lace the food with drugs. You can't malign me with such things just because you're powerful. I am just running a small business. My shop can't withstand any tearing apart. Mag quickly waved his hands and turned to look left and right, ready to call for help. Don't shout. Don't shout. We saw good things. Louis quickly stopped Mag. Good things. Mag was puzzled. I didn't lace it with any aphrodisiac. How could you see good things? F***ck, Louis's face turned black. Therefore, what they saw had to be the legendary law. The law was a good thing. When a 10th tier powerhouse reached his level, training alone would not help with advancing anymore. What he needed was to understand the law. Talented people would become stronger easily. He was an example. Those with normal talents could only fight with their age and experiences. Others might take a year to understand a law, while you took 3 years to understand one law. However, others could only live to 100 years old, while you could live to 3,000 years old. Therefore, as long as you lived to 101 years old, you defeated him. And once you lived to 3,000 years old, his descendants would never defeat you. Unless one of them was very talented, like Mag Alex. The world was cruel and real like that. The giant dragons weren't really talented. It was also not because they were hatched from eggs. It was just because they could live longer, and therefore they would have more top-tier powerhouses than the other races. System, what is this? Were the octopus tentacles not cleaned thoroughly, hence this effect? Would this result in them being enchanted? Mag asked inside. If the great old ones could control the 10th tier powerhouses because of him, he would be a sinner. According to my analysis, there are 2 reasons for their illusions. Firstly, it was the host's superb culinary skills that made their soul go into a relaxed mode. Secondly, it was the special effect brought about by the great old one's tentacles. This had once been shown in the lab rat test. However, its effect on the lab rat was normal, the illusion only lasted for a very short amount of time, and it did not affect its eating. On top of that, it has also helped to increase appetite. Therefore, this was not raised. The great old ones could live up to millions of years, and their genes were engraved with countless laws which even it was unable to use. However, after cooking it, there was a certain percentage of chance that the consumer could realize it, the system replied quickly. I see. Mag was deep in thought. So that was what Krasua and the rest saw. They were the laws ingrained in the great old one's genes in their millions of years alive. There would be a certain percentage of chance that the consumer might be able to see the laws. These weren't things that could directly make them become stronger, but they were what every 10th tier powerhouse would desire. The source of watching the law up close only required 40 copper coins for one to watch it repeatedly for 4 times. Such happiness was simply unimaginable. Mag understood it all, but would not say it out directly in case these people had nasty thoughts. Mag behaved as though he was a good restaurant owner who was trying to protect his restaurant and his reputation. Louis also realized that this restaurant owner seemed a little daft. However, on second thought, he was merely an ordinary human. Understanding those laws was too much to ask from him. Therefore, he asked his question in another way. Then let me ask you, where did you get your octopus tentacles from? Fished it out from the sea, of course. Would they grow on land? Mag looked at Louis seriously. Do you know a place where octopuses grow on land? It might lower my cost even more. Louis was speechless. He did know a place with an octopus growing on land. It was in the Thunderstorm Mountains, 15 kilometers away from Chaos City. But no one would dare to eat that. All right, Louis, don't keep questioning Boss Mag. He's just a chef. How would he know all those things that you're talking about? If you really want to experience it again, just come here every day and line up at the door. In any case, even if you know the answer, you won't be able to replicate it, Krasu interrupted Louis, who still wanted to probe. Louis glanced at Mag, and thought that Krasu made sense. Talking to Mag was like talking to a horse. It made him mentally tired and frustrated. All right, then, I'll come back again at night. Louis nodded. He looked at Mag, smiled, and then raised his thumb. Boss, you make wonderful food. After saying that, he left. Seeing that Mag knew nothing, the other powerhouses left, and only Krasu and Urian were left behind. Masters, is there anything else? Do you want to come in for a cup of tea? Master looked at the two old men, and became nicer. After all, they were Amy's teachers, and the two elders had always been looking after him and Amy. No need for tea. Boss Mag, I just want to ask about a few days ago. I was rather busy, and there were 2 classes that I had yet to make up for Amy. Could you help me ask her if she wants to go to class today? Krasu said in a humble tone with a chuckle. Urian let out a cough, and quickly added, I still have 1 lesson. Isn't it already the holidays? Why are there still lessons? No. I'm not going for lessons. Amy suddenly peeked her head out from behind Mag, and looked at Urian and Krasu as she said coquettishly, Masters, why don't both of you just go home and play? We'll all have our holidays, all right. The moment Amy acted coquettishly, the 2 old men's hearts melted. All right, we'll talk about it next time. Urian nodded. All right, all right, all right. We'll not have class. Little Amy can play at home. Krasu shook his head with a smile. After that, he paused for a while, and said, but we have to set off to Rodu in 3 days' time. I'm bringing you over to compete. Rodu? Compete? Amy was puzzled. Yes. It's a magic caster competition. But I'm just bringing you there to gain some experience and see how amateurish those magic casters outside are. Krasu nodded. If you go, you'll have to get number 1. If you don't, just don't go. Urian glanced at Krasu, and said sarcastically, you just want to let little Amy see how those people at the Magus Tower fawn over you. Why? Are you envious? Krasu chuckled. He was not at all angry. Do I get a reward for getting the first place? Amy asked curiously. Of course. If you get first place, you'll get a gold and purple magic stone, and can even get a job in the Magus Tower, or become the disciple of the Magus Tower elders. Krasu nodded with a smile. Master is giving you these 3 gold and purple magic stones. Urian pulled out 3 shining gold and purple magic stones from his storage ring, and passed it to Amy. He smilingly said, as for the Magus Tower elders, none of them can defeat me. Krasu exclaimed, Urian, you can't do this. I am inculcating the correct money sense in my disciple, Urian said matter-of-factly. Chapter 1825 Netizens reply, pretend to faint. I know you weren't truthful just now. So what exactly is going on? Irina nodded and looked at Mag curiously. What did you see? Mag was not eager to reply. The holy light. The real holy light, cutting through the universe. Have you understood it? Not yet. But as long as I see it enough times, I will eventually understand it. Irina shook her head slightly. So what exactly is going on? Why would this dish have such miraculous effects? Does it have anything to do with the octopus monster? Mag looked at Irina, and thought for a while before replying, I am not very clear about the details. It is said that when one's culinary skills reach a certain level, it will have a miraculous effect on one's cooking. For example, the tofu pudding that could achieve beautifying results and the Buddha jumps over the wall that could grow hair. These stir-fried octopus tentacles and octopus balls might just as well be like that. Irina looked at Mag for a while. With a strange expression, she said, which means your culinary skills have already reached the level where you can cook up the law of the way. That's an exaggeration. Maybe it could only open up a door for all of you. For things like the law of the way, those who knew it would know it, and those who didn't would never be able to understand it. Even if they could see it, there would still be no use. Mag shook his head. He did not want to keep Irina in the dark on purpose. However, the system was not something that could be easily explained. Besides, the more he said, the more mistakes he might make. On top of that, telling her that she had eaten the octopus monster's meat might make her throw everything up. Therefore, he could only push everything to his culinary skills. In any case, they couldn't be replicated. Of course, the most important thing was that Irina was obviously very interested in the law of the holy light, and she intended to continue making use of this chance to view the real holy light. This feeling was probably the same as when you ate chicken gizzard and intestines, and the shop owner would not tell you what part of the animal exactly you were eating, and what it would do to your body. Irina looked at Mag suspiciously. Does it really have nothing to do with the octopus monster? If I used the octopus monster to make octopus balls, do you think I would sell it for 40 copper coins a set? Mag shrugged. That's true. You're already selling a yushao at 80 copper coins. Irina nodded. Taking that octopus monster's tentacles might cost him his life. How could he only sell it at 40 copper coins per set? That's decided by the market price. I did not set it high on my own, Mag said it without even blushing. One had to know that the yushao was handmade by a half-god knight who woke up early every morning. It was not even too much to set it at 800 copper coins, much less 80 copper coins. You look pretty today, Mag told Irina with a smile. Do you like it? Irina smiled shyly. I love it. Mag nodded. The blush on Irina's face disappeared immediately, and then she looked at Mag with a seeming smile. So you like orc-eared girls? Tell me, is there anything between you and Connie? Mag glanced at the whip in her hand that appeared out of nowhere, and lost his smile. She was leading him on. Upon careful thought, this was a suicide question. If he answered that he liked it, she would say that that was not her, and the whip would be waiting for him. If he said that he did not like it, it might be the foldable chair instead of the whip. What I mean is, I like you no matter what you look like. Mag tried to keep himself level-headed and clear-minded. His mind worked quickly, and started searching for sweet nothings in his brain. Then if I were to look like Gloria, would you like it? Irina asked with a smile. Mag system, can you send out an SOS for me? I am in urgent need. Mag's heart was racing. He did not know what Irina and Gloria said during lunch. How worrying. Netizens reply, pretend to faint, the system quickly replied. Mag rolled his eyes, and fainted on the spot. Now, Irina was dumbfounded seeing Mag lying on the floor, unconscious. Is this for real? Irina quickly bent over, and held Mag's wrist. His heartbeat was a little quick, but it was still within the normal range. A pretense. Irina squinted. She smiled and whipped the ground beside Mag. Mag's eyelashes fluttered, but he still controlled his reaction. All right, stop pretending. I'll skip this question. Irina kept her whip and kicked Mag lightly with her foot. Mag opened an eye, and saw Irina keeping the whip. He let out a sigh of relief before opening his eyes groggily. He sat up, and asked with bewilderment, "What happened to me just now?" Tisk. You've grown capable. Now you've even learned how to feign death. Irina smiled as she pulled out the foldable chair from behind her. Mag? Star. Oh, he was petrified. Thankfully, Irina did not really hit him. If they were to really get into a fight, he would not know whether to win or lose. That lady is pretty cute. Irina kept her little stool and sat on a chair. Mag knew she was referring to Gloria. He raised an eyebrow. Could she be trying to find him a mistress? However, he quickly dispelled that thought. This might be another leading question. After keeping her stool, she might bring out something 2 times worse. Man had to be able to control the situation. Being in a rush would often make things worse. You man Annie? She is rather cute. A pity she can't speak. Mag poured her some water, and sat in front of Irina. Irina glanced at Mag, not knowing if he really didn't know whom she was referring to. Oh, right. Just now, Krasus said that he would be bringing Amy to Rodu to join a magic caster tournament a few days later. Mag quickly pretended not to understand Irina's expression, and changed the topic. He did not like living on the edge. If he were to fall off accidentally, it would cost him either his life or his livelihood. Such a boring competition. Just some fellows below the 8th tier. But it's a good opportunity for Amy to gain some experience, Irina said with a slight nod. Amy is only 4. Would it be too early for her to gain fame? Mag asked worriedly. I became an advanced magic caster at 10, and you were known for killing a dragon at 23. This is our family's tradition, Irina said matter-of-factly. Mag thought for a while, and found nothing wrong with that. I heard that Andrei wanted to talk to you personally. The person coming to invite you over should be on his way. Irina suddenly stopped smiling. Are you going?